Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to start with an apology. On Twitter, I promised that it was snowing, and literally at the last minute, well, I mean, it's still snowing, it's sleeting more than anything, but honestly, it was heavily snowing. I thought it'd be a lovely, lovely backdrop. Oh, apologies. Nonetheless, you can't really see it now. But we're not here to watch the snow, we're here to rank some shirts, so welcome, everybody. Those who joined us last week will remember that we were going to be doing a 3-hour stream last week, but I wasn't feeling very well. I'm feeling much better now. I'm fully recovered. We're raring to go for an afternoon stream, so we're going to be here for a few hours. It's going to be a longer session as we try and catch up because there's been so many new kits since we lasted. Since last week, we lasted the stream. And there's many more kits to come, of course, so we want to catch up. And then we can have more time each week as we discuss these shirts. But welcome, everybody. Just because I want to prove that it was snowing, if I just find us. You can see here, I took a screenshot. There you go, look how heavy the snow was. But it's not like that now. We're back to a much sunnier day. But anyway, as I say, this is the hot wall. I also want to show you a new scene that I've got here. If I just bring that up now, you can see. Hopefully, you can still hear me. This is just a screen with all my current patrons, and this is really a thank you to them. If you want to know what I'm doing at Patreon, there's a link there, patreon.com/MormonShirt. There's also a link in the description. Loads of good stuff, a free shirt, a free magazine as part of your support. But thank you to these guys, the names on the screen there. And it's a growing list, as you can see. A number of people there, and it's growing, every month. So thank you to them. And again, thank you to you guys for watching. Of course, as we go through this, you're very welcome to ask questions. And hello, Daniel. Hello. Welcome, my friend. Hope you're well. Very welcome to ask questions. And of course, as we rank the shirts, and I'll just bring up our hot wall. You can see here. This is the wall. This is where we're ranking all our shirts. And I'll just check. Yeah, we're looking good there. Yeah, this is where the magic happens. A big list, a big tier list. The best shirts on the right hand side of the screen, and the shirts that aren't so good on the left side. Every shirt that's been released this year is up for consideration. So that's the hot wall, guys. I think it's about time now we get into these shirts. So we will come to Football Shirt Culture, the blog where we have been finding the images, I should say. First job is to find out where we left it last time. I think we were at least a couple of pages after this. I reckon by the end of this afternoon we should be through the majority of the kits, if not all of them. I think from memory we finished with San Jose Earthquakes. So we will start with Inter Miami. And to catch up, San Jose, I snuck them in at the last minute into the hot tier, into the Flames tier. Despite the plain nature of the shirt, I like the colour, and seeing this angle of the shirt with the side there, I really rate this one. Maybe a surprising ranking. But if we come to Inter Miami, this shirt, of course, Inter Miami, one of the youngest teams in the league. There are some nice details here, and I do like the cuff details. It's very simple, a very simple embossed design, but I do like that. It's a nice unique feature. I think looking at the kit as a whole, and again, Inter Miami are quite a young team, so it's hard to kind of compare with a limited kind of reference point. It does feel like a very pink kit as a whole. You'd like to see a bit more black, I think, for balance. I think that would help, just from an aesthetic point of view. But the details that are there are nice. This is relatively cheap looking compared to some of the other jock tags we've seen in MLS. And the back neck detail's fine, but again, I think other than the cuff details, the rest of it feels a little bit half-baked. But yeah, I think as well, it's worth saying the collar. Many teams, Adidas teams, are going to have this collar. And hello, Thomas. Welcome, my friend. Many teams are going to have this collar with Adidas, which is going to be interesting to track. So I think this one is on the higher end of the third tier, the candle tier, as we're dubbing it. So I'm going to put this one, as I say, I think from an aesthetic point of view, again, the colours are nice. Personally, I'd like to see a bit more black to balance this one out. The cuff details are very good though. And I think that helps it move it up from being a more of a sort of middle to lower tier candle shirt into something in this sort of area. So we'll find a gap and we'll stick it here. And Beer's Gunner. Charlotte FC has some great kits. Morning all from sunny North Carolina. Hello, Beer's Gunner. It's also sunny here. It was heavily snowing about 10 minutes ago and it's suddenly changed. I was hoping we'd have a nice snowy backdrop, but hello guys. And hello everyone watching. So Inter Miami. Honestly, I'd say it was, just about in the top half of MLS kits this year. I mean, if we look, and again, I don't want to spend too much time reviewing where we are, but you can see other MLS kits like New York Red Bulls, Vancouver, New York City. So there's some good, what I'd consider reasonable MLS kits, and indeed in the second tier, in the Flames tier, you can see a number of MLS kits. They're not all good, and some of them are in the bottom tier, but generally I've been more high on MLS kits than other years. Thomas asks, thoughts on the new Fiorentina crest? I think my first impression, it's not really a looker. It does, and a number of people have commented on the fact that the angles are quite sharp. I'm not overly enamoured with it. But having said that, rebrands rarely land that well. So if I think about other rebrands, this one feels like it has a bit more potential than some of the other ones, if I can put it like that. But, it was always going to be difficult because Fiorentina have some of the best crests, of any team. They're very loved. So, in short, I don't think it needed to happen. I don't think the previous Fiorentina crest needed much more than a few tweaks to be still quite useful. I understand that they had to tweak it for, the modern game, etc. But there we go. What did you think, Thomas? What did you think? Moving to Toronto, this shirt feels like it's lacking a nice thing to take it to the next level. Looking at that, the details feel very bland. I also find it quite funny when you have a nickname like the Reds. Come on, you Reds. And there's almost no red on the shirt, but that's a side point. Half and half designs. I'm not huge. I'm not big into half and half kits. They can be done well, but this one just feels like it. Dare I say it? A more interesting collar. As much as I like crew necks, it doesn't feel like it's doing too much for the shirt there. I just think it's lacking something. Something. So, for example, if we look at the San Jose kit, it's a very, if anything, even more plain. But the details on the side really lifted that one. I think this one, even though it has some nice colours, I don't mind the greys. It's a little bit. You could say it's a bit dull, but I don't mind that. And I think you can see that it looks smart as an ensemble, but yeah, it's just lacking something a bit nicer, details wise, to take this one to the higher tiers. So I think. Probably the only thing saving it from the Ice Cube tier, our lowest tier, is the fact that I think, again, from a colour perspective, this one is more interesting than something like, if you look at some other kits, the Chicago kit. This is a good example of a shirt which I just thought felt very, very like it could belong to a number of teams. The navy feels quite overdone in the league. And also, we should consider the fact that this is an away kit. And I think in that sense, it lands reasonably well. Yeah. So the lower end of the counter tier for me, this one. And Daniel, I completely agree. Daniel's saying, I hate that there often is a big difference between replica shirts and authentic shirts in MLS. Yes, that is. It's a big topic in the industry, and it's a real shame to see. You know, in many ways, it's understandable that there'll be differences, but when you're missing key features, you know, whole details, things that could be different colours, you're missing, I don't know, the stars on top of the badge. There's several things which really do hurt MLS replica kits. Thomas on the Fiorentina crest as well saying, I think it does go back to some of the old designs. Yeah, that's true. That's true. There are some elements of the older Fiorentina stuff. But I'm not sure I'm a fan of the minimalist look 50-50. Yeah, that's similar to myself, mate. Now, coming to Columbus Crew. Of course, they themselves went through a controversial rebrand recently. Looking at this shirt, I think this is a sneakily good shirt. Of course, it helps that their promo pictures are so good. And I believe they got... I think I saw on Twitter that they got some top concept designers who are experts in rendering to render some kits. And you can see it makes all the difference, seeing those details. Of course, yeah, we don't want to judge them on the presentation photos, but it's presented absolutely brilliantly. And it does stand out compared to other MLS releases. Steve-O, good afternoon, my friend. He says, since we spoke last time Napoli released another kit, they they probably will as we're speaking, I'm sure, mate. But thanks for stopping by. Hope you're having a good day. Looking at this, I really like the details. And again, of course, the presentation's excellent. But I think it really does tick those boxes when you're thinking about if you're going to have a plain shirt, you need to get the colour and the shade of colour spot on. And I really like this shade of yellow or gold. They're calling it gold. I guess it is a kind of gold yellow, but it's really, really nice. You know, if we need to compare, we'll go to our favourite site for kit history of shirts. You can see here, of course, across their history, they've had, you know, broadly speaking, yellow home shirts. But it's good to see, apologies, that's not the screen we want. It's good to see that shade as opposed to some of the other shades which haven't been quite as impactful. I like this hue, if you like. And I think the details, even though they're a bit abstract, this one I couldn't tell you what it is at first glance, but I like the look of it. So in short, I think this one is pretty decent. I think looking again at this tier list, I think it compares well to something like the LA Galaxy kit or San Jose kit. And I think again, many people would brush over this and say it's just a plain yellow shirt, but I do think the details make this one. And the pattern subliminally through the body is good. It's a simple idea, but it's executed very well. Unlike the Miami kit, I don't mind the balance of yellow and black here. I think the yellow stands a bit stronger on its own, if that makes any sense. So I think this one is definitely it's hovering between this area. I think if I'd rank the San Jose kit where I have, this one should be alongside it. And maybe as I'm looking at this, I think initially we had San Jose on this side. I'm happy to still put this here. I think there are several MLS kits which sneak into this hot tier, which I would consider really nice shirts, even though they're relatively simple. Thomas says hi, Candle. Yeah, I think that's very fair. And Daniel's saying, I think the Columbus shirt is actually really good. Nothing too special, but just a really nice shirt. Yeah, indeed. Beer's going to say Napoli unveiling at Fashion Week. That could definitely happen. if it hasn't already, or if there isn't a Fashion Week, they could start one just for their kits, couldn't they? Now, look at Atlantic United. This one was one of the most talked about MLS kits of the release season, of the MLS release season, and for good reason, because the pattern is, of course, a nod to probably the most famous football shirt of all time, the Holland 88 shirt, used for several teams, but made famous by the Netherlands in their Euros win. Thomas, yes, today I'm going to be streaming till 5. It's going to be a long one. Hopefully by the end of this stream, we will have caught up with present day. That's my plan, or at least we'll get as far as we can. I think we will. So strap in for the ride. It's going to be a long one. But yeah, that's the plan. So honestly, this one, I get the hype around it, but something about it, I think, and this is a very small thing, but not that we want to compare it too much to the Holland 88 shirt, but of course it is based on that, so I think we should. One of the things I like most about that Holland shirt, and if we can try and get a picture of the shirt in it actually worn by the players, so we don't want like a remake or even a fake. I just want to get a nice large image. You see here on the original Holland 88, I love the grainy texture. This is something which, of course, many shirts in the late 80s and early 90s really leaned on. When you see this version, it reminds me too much of the fakes that are around there. And if you look, if you were to go on eBay and search for a Holland 88 shirt, you'd see some of the shirts which are like this but orange, and they're a lot plainer. And it sounds funny, but without that grainy texture, the pattern is less exciting to me. And maybe it's because of the fake association. It's a very funny thing. That might be just a personal thing, but maybe if they'd done the grainy texture, it would feel a bit too on the nose. But I feel like if you're already going to nod to the kit, you might as well also bring in that grain, because without that, it feels a little bit, I don't know, a bit naff. And you've not got the pattern on the back, which isn't exclusive to Atlanta, but so honestly, that really does take a knock. Yeah, D for life. It's too clean. Exactly. That's what my thought was as well. I think if you added that slightly grainy aesthetic, it really goes up just from a visual perspective. And of course, you're starting from scratch. You're not. If you were, I don't know, if you were the Netherlands remaking the kit, I can understand that they want to go down a different direction a bit more while still having that nod. But I feel like you're missing out one of the best things about this shirt. The way the gradient's achieved with the grain. Without that, and so I think too clean is a good description, a good way of putting it. Steve is saying Atlanta's beautiful, but the sponsor is Dogmuck. I think that's fair. It's, even though it's a good colour, as in they've incorporated it, it's very wide. I don't hate it compared to some of them, but I completely see where you're going from. And Thomas, thank you, man. Thank you, Mayan. Let me restart. Thank you, my friend. So you'll be here for a good amount of time. That is good. Good stuff. Appreciate it very much, mate. And Thomas also said Ice Cube look is warranted an Ice Cube. I don't think it's in the Ice Cube tier for me personally. I do think had we seen this rolled out for a number of teams, it would feel a lot cheaper. But I do like that they've done a relatively obvious nod to their best kit of all time, or the most famous kit, Adidas kit of all time. But I would actually put it below some of these other relatively plain MLS kits, because I think the colour is good as well, don't get me wrong. I'm not in love with the shade. It does remind me of a lot of mint kits. But it's just about green enough to not feel too much like the mint kits. But I think I'm going to stick it right on the edge of the Camel tier. Again, I really do think it compares to something like the Minnesota kit, which I think will be controversial, but that's where I'm putting it, as I say, just on the border. But I'd be again very interested to hear you guys' thoughts. This one, as I say, got a lot of love, and many people said it's the best shirt of MLS. I don't think it is. I really don't think it's as good as many people are saying. Just looking at it again, maybe they could have done, I don't know, if the sizing of the patterning had been different, that could have been interesting. But it just feels like you're missing one of the best things about the original there. Interested to hear your thoughts though. Now we continue in the US, but not with MLS. This time we're going to USL team San Antonio FC. Or sorry, I should say USL Championship, Western Conference. That's a mouthful. Now, probably the most pervasive trend of football shirts in the last couple of years has been the blackout trend. Many teams have got on board, and it's been extremely popular. Pretty much anywhere you go, these shirts tend to do quite well just because they are really, really nice to look at. I mean, they are. I think even though, yeah, there's been some better or worse examples of the blackout trend over the years. And particularly, apologies. There we go, 20 minutes in, I'm already yawning, and it's 20 past 2 in the afternoon. I can never hack a 24-hour stream, that's for sure. Coming to San Antonio, again, this I think the best thing about this shirt is I really like that shiny looking crest. It's a really nice application style execution of the crest. Had that been in the style of the numbers or the Puma logo or the sponsor, just a more simple transfer, I think this one would land a lot worse. It's hard, obviously, when you're evaluating blackout shirts as well. Essentially, you're looking at the same thing a lot of the time, aren't you? But I do think that's where you have to look at things like the details. How have they implemented things like the crest, the sponsor? It's a real shame, of course, and this is not exclusive to the San Antonio shirt, but of course, sleeve patches, competition patches, are often not in the blackout style for obvious reasons. They need to be legible. But we'll allow them that because that's kind of out of their jurisdiction. But yeah, looking at the shirt, I think, again, my favourite thing about it is the style of the crest. I think that alone means it's not going to be in the bottom tier. If we now, let's just take it out and stick it into the list, and we can start to evaluate. I don't think we've had a blackout shirt yet, have we? We've had I might be wrong, but we've had a lot of black shirts, but not a blackout shirt to evaluate. I think it's almost a bit too easy, and I think for that reason I'm leaning towards, well, I think it is in this, honestly, I think the crest alone really does add to it. And I think for that reason I'm leaning towards the Flames tier. What do we think? Thomas says sleeve sponsor ruins it, or sleeve patch. Yes, I agree. I think that does hurt it. Otherwise, Volcano, says Thomas. Yeah, I can understand that, honestly. Again, I mean, like Daniel said, it's a trend that's overdone now. Barcel's away shirt, which is incredible next season. Yeah, that's interesting. I think that one, I distinguish that from a blackout shirt, and then it's a black and gold shirt, I would say. And that's another really, really popular trend. But I wouldn't group that in the same category, at least because it's not clearly just black. That would be my take. Thomas saying similar as well. Yeah, that would be my stance on it. But yeah, despite the relative simplicity of it, I do think it is a hard shirt. I do think, again, it sounds silly, but that crest alone has me intrigued. And yes, it's a bit of an obvious direction, but they have stuck well to the, they've not, bar the competition patch. It's good, and I actually think this is a hot shirt. So I would want to stick this in this lower end of the Flames tier. But we've had a few, and I do think, again, it's relatively closer to some of the other shirts that are in this kind of border, which is getting quite congested here. But yeah, I like it. I like, again, the commitment to the theme, and I agree to an extent. D-Fly said it feels like a tired idea. I do agree that there's been many blackout kits, but honestly, I think this is a good example of one. And despite it being a trend, I do think it's well executed. And yeah, I would anything in these two tiers, especially this top tier, but the second tier here, the Flames tier. These are shirts I'd like to have in my collection. I wouldn't necessarily buy them at retail price, but I'd certainly be more than happy to pick one up on my travels at a reasonable price. And that's definitely that shirt. And we come to the away. This has a really fun combination of colours. What I like about this one immediately, you can obviously see the contrast between this and the home in many ways, but not least that combination. And I believe these colours, they're the I don't know what you described them as, but a number of teams in San Antonio and the wider region have these colours. I'm trying to think of the name. Anyone who's a US sports fan might be able to help me. But they are colours synonymous with San Antonio teams, and I really like that they brought that in. I'd like to see more of it though. As much as I do like this, I do like those colours. They could have done, maybe the collar and cuffs with that sort of trim. I feel like the pattern could be a lot more bold. I think, I know you've got the black and you want to have a predominantly white kit for the away. I just think they missed a trick on going bigger on those colours. It's such a good colourway. They could do so much more. Zhao, hello Zhao, saying Liverpool released 2 blackout shirts that didn't make a lot of news. Are those the leisure wear ones, Zhao? Because I know I've seen them before, and that to me is a bit of a shame when you see a kit like that and it's not even going to be worn in the game. That, I don't know, it's certainly less exciting. Yeah, so this one, I really like the idea, and I think, Thomas said they never played them. Yeah, they were doing that, weren't they, with New Balance basically releasing every like all their home shirts in the blackout style. And yeah, I wasn't a big fan. Simply because they weren't worn in a game. So anyway, this shirt, I think this is the epitome of a candle tier shirt. Where there's an idea there. There's a flicker of hope. But I really think they were too conservative with it. I love those colours together, and I think, again, those colours alone give this shirt a lot, but not enough. I think this is definitely in the kind of middle candle tier for me. Yeah, Zhao, they were the New Balance shirts. Yeah, that's the ones. And again, I think it was interesting, almost as an experiment, or to kind of see the club doing that. But yeah, not nearly as exciting as I think some of the shirts that are worn on the pitch. And that's the thing with the San Antonio one. It is simple, but it is their home shirt, and I don't mind them committing to that. Now we come to Rio Grande Valley. I must say, this one, and I believe this is a template pattern. I might be wrong on this, but I believe this is one of the stock catalogue patterns from Puma. It's an interesting design. I don't think, though, I kind of like the pattern of the body. I think that has potential, but the rest of the shirt feels very, very second rate. It feels quite cheap. It looks quite cheap, I'd say. It says it's a custom dot graphic. The only club in the championship to wear this exclusive pattern. Now that is a good thing, but I think even with that, and even with the bespoke nature, and I'm sure other teams have this, but I might be wrong. Even if this was a bespoke pattern, I'm struggling to get excited about this. And I do actually think the colours, it feels a bit kind of, I hate to say childish, but that's the impression I get. Maybe it's the sponsor as well there. But I think this has to go in the Ice Cube tier. I think it does. And apologies to any Rio Grande Valley fans. I think this one, again, the pattern is the best thing about it. And if it is bespoke, that's nice. But other than that, I do think it has a very cheap feel to it. I think it's also the Puma template. As much as I don't mind a crew neck, I don't think it's doing this one any favours. This one is definitely, it's not the worst Ice Cube tier shirt we've seen. There's been certainly some worse ones. Looking at you, Napoli. I think this one does deserve to be in this bottom tier. It's not a shirt I'd go my way to get. And so it'll be interesting as we go on in the year to see if this pattern it shows up anywhere. Because I had a feeling I'd seen this before. Maybe not. But I think that's the thing. Just before we move on this shirt, that pattern, it has a kind of nice intricate element to it, and you'd like to see that. The rest of the shirt, the sleeves, the collar, the cuffs, feel almost, well, the plainness of that I think is emphasised by the kind of more detailed elements in the pattern. I feel like you could introduce that in the cuffs, or have it feel a bit less like two shirts. It feels like you've got the middle of the shirt and then the rest of it, and it feels very just unnecessarily compartmentalised. But I mean, that's just my take anyway. Peter's gonna with a vomiting face So Puma, yeah, and you're certainly not the only one who has those opinions in the community. And D5%, yeah, it looks like an Iron Brew shirt done cheaply. Yeah, very big Iron Brew vibes, that's for sure. Don't say I like Puma City. Puma City have done some good stuff. That's fair. That's fair. Right, some really fun shirts to come. We go to El Paso Locomotive. This is another stock pattern. This time from Adidas. Not one that's been overly used, and I think in that sense I don't mind seeing this one show up because it hasn't been used too much. But apart from that positive of the pattern, I think the colours just aren't doing it for me. I feel like there's so much more potential, and again, I think the pattern, even though it's a template pattern, a stock pattern, has potential, but the shade of blue on that base isn't doing it for me. You know, the colours are described in the process as dynamic pitch black and charcoal, zigzag, but I don't think this is dynamic. And again, I think, you know what it probably is for me, when I see this here and I see the yellow, that kind of stands out quite nicely. I feel like it needs another colour. Maybe the yellow, maybe that navy in the base of the crest, elsewhere in the kit. That it's desperately missing that for me. Just having that light blue on all the details, obviously apart from the crest, yeah, it needs a tertiary colour. It needs a third colour, I think, to really take this one from feeling a little bit run-of-the-mill. And that's despite being a pattern which hasn't been used much. So I actually think this might have to go in the Ice Cube tier. Or it's certainly in the gap. Let's have a look. It's been in between. It's in this vague area for me. Now, comments coming in. D and Thomas both saying they like it. D saying black and grey wings. I like the blue that stands out well. Thomas saying me too. Like this. Yeah, no, guys, I'm not as high on it, but I am I'm in an iron between this area. Let's look at some other shirts around here. Houston Dynamo, that's a good one to compare it to, being another American shirt. I think there are similarities. The pattern, I think just the colours, even though that blends in more, that one was a bit better. Although having said that, we then look at some of the shirts here, and I do like this more than the New England. So I think we'll sneak it on just into the canon tier. It's very much in this area for me, and that's, you know, again, I don't think it's something colour-wise is missing in my mind. I don't think you always need, you know, it's not, less is more sometimes. Just feel like it needs a third colour there, or something along those lines. But talking of colour, we're coming now to San Diego. Now, many of you will have seen on Twitter that I recently received the home shirt, and let me tell you guys, I like it a lot. We'll come to that in a second. Start with the away. Now, I like a lot of things about San Diego's kits. The crest is amazing. It's got a lot going on, but I love the look and design of that, the colours of that. The Rocket League sponsor is great. I'm a big fan, even though I am quite terrible at Rocket League. I really enjoy when the worlds of gaming and football collide. And I don't think I've ever seen Rocket League as a sponsor. So that's a really, really, like a top tier sponsor in my eyes. Unfortunately, I'm not really into map graphics. And don't get me wrong, we've seen some good map shirts. And I think even on this list, if you look at some of the AIK shirt, which I really like. Wasn't my favourite AIK shirt, but it was one of the better shirts we've seen so far this year. That one I ranked in the hot tier. But I don't think this one's going to get there. Yeah, and that's despite the good features. And Thomas said, Rocket League is an old sponsor. I like it though. Or I think I like it. Yeah, many people, I think many people actually actively were quite against the Rocket League sponsor. They didn't like how big it was. But honestly, for me, a sponsor, sometimes it's the novelty factor of seeing a company or a brand you've not really seen in football or at all in football enter that world. And I enjoy my games. I'm a big fan of Rocket League, even though I don't play it much, but I really like the whole concept and how they've brought that in and developed that over time. I think this is a counter tier show though. This has so many nice elements to work with. Again, the colours, I think a bit like the kit we just saw. Who was it? The El Paso Locomotive. I think you'd want some oranges in there. D-Fluff said, I love sponsors, but that's about it. Yeah, I can completely see that. To be honest, I think actually, where was it? I think it could go in the lower end of the canon tier. I think it, you know, it's not. It is. I think the map thing, and I mentioned about stuff, you know, being overdone, and maybe it's hypocritical when I've got a blackout shirt, which is even more overdone than maps. But I prefer the blackout aesthetic than the map thing, broadly speaking. So even though, again, it's a bit like the we've seen as many map shirts as we've seen blackout shirts. I think I prefer blackout shirts in general. So that's a personal taste thing. But guys, and there's not many of us watching at the moment. There's seven people. But for the 7 people that are watching, I'm going to tell you now, this shirt is one of my favourites so far. I love this shirt. Seeing it in person as well, seeing Charlie's handiwork, it's great. The colours, and I talk so much about colours on this channel, but this is so fresh, so vibrant. Yes, the sunset thing has been done by a few teams, not just in football, but other sports. But the combination of that green teal base with the sunset colours is absolutely stunning. I love this one. Now, it's not the perfect shirt. I think the neckline isn't my favourite style if I was to be really, really picky. And at first I was unsure about the kind of contour look, but on reflection, I do much prefer this to the map style. I think they've done, and especially because you've got these bands of colour. Yes, it could go on the back as well. That is true, Thomas. Although I'm glad the contours are on the back, and it's a small thing, but at least I've done that. I do think that's good. But honestly, I just think it's one of, for me, and again, because I like the Rocket League sponsor, I think that does make or break the shirt. That really does. I think if you don't like the Rocket League sponsor, this is obviously, it's shouting in your face. But I'm just going to say, guys, this is going to be a Volcano tier shirt. This is going to be just the 3rd shirt to get into the top tier, because I love it. I really think, and again, I did get to see this one in person, which really helped. But I'm so big on this shirt. And I think it's fair to say, and Thomas said, contour lines is just continuing the map theme. So yes and no. This again, without wanting to dig too deep, I think the aesthetic of these contours is much better than the map. You know what this reminds me of? It's not as good, but Hackney Wick's away shirt from, was it 2020 or 2019? Now this Hackney Wick shirt was even better, much better. This is one of my favourite shirts of the last 10 years. This was kind of a contour fingerprint vibe. This isn't as good, the pattern isn't as good, but I think the colours are still very, very good, and I really like those horizontal bands. Brock, as well, saying, good morning, what a great way to start the day. Football shows at 7:30, yes please. Yeah, it's an early one, isn't it, for you guys over in the States? But we are, good morning, San Diego. I love this one. It's one of my favourite shirts of the year. Yeah, the Hackney Wick shirt is incredible to us. Very, very happy to own that one. Yeah, so this one, it's going to go in the Volcano tier, guys. Again, I've been very, very selective so far with the shirts that have gone into here. Belgrano, Platense. Just 2 shirts that have gone in so far, but this one is up there with the best of them. At least for me, when I think about my personal kind of shirt taste, I love bands of colour across the middle, a la Boca Juniors. Andres, you've come in at a good time, my friend. No worries that you're late. We've just found our 3rd Volcano tier shirt. And that's not something we said often. Yeah, really big on this one. The away we ranked it right down in the counter tier. But I love this one. I think things, again, this is very much personal taste, but I love the sponsor. I love the Rocket League sponsor. Love a good gaming sponsor. We don't see many of them. And I think it's those colours. Again, if we zoom out, you can kind of see, I mean, it's a growing kind of cloud of shirts, isn't it? But I do think that stands out in a good way. So there we go, guys. There's not many of us again. We've got nine viewers, so it's a small, loyal crew. We're talking of loyal, San Diego, their home shirt. It's great. And we continue with Cruzeiro, or Cruzeiro. I don't know how you say their name, but the Brazilian team. This is a wonderful shirt again. Now, the biggest disappointment is there in the second picture. It's the plain back. But lots to like about this shirt. Of course, the team Cruzeiro have had many shirts based on stars, their crest, and has had very many variations. And if we actually look, this is an altered version of their crest. You can see, if you go to old football shirts, actually. Hey, football shirt connoisseur, how are you? I'm anxiously looking forward to my Denmark shirt arriving, my friend. But thanks again for your help there last week. Hope you're good. Yeah, so looking at Cruzeiro, the shirts, again, have kind of been mixed, I think. I really did like some of the variations of the crest. We had just the stars for a few years, which I really liked. So it's nice to see another version here, and that adds something to the shirt. And again, we think about kind of the galaxy theme or the stars theme that I mentioned just before. It's very clear, and you know, it's one of those shirts you don't really need anyone to explain what's going on here. And it's really good to see, even in a very small way, that the little stars are going across the sleeves, and that's really good. If this had the pattern on the back, and I think if we saw this in Adidas's latest player issue technology, it would land a bit better. Also, the detail on the back, even though it's quite nice, it's just a little transfer. It's not as high quality as some other details we see. But despite those things, I think this is a hot shirt. I think this is actually on the higher end of the Flames tier. I really do think this is good. I'm going to be picking this one up. And actually, this is a good time to mention, guys, that I am now a brand ambassador of Foot Fanatics. Foot Fanatics, I've been sponsored by them before on this channel. I'm working with them again. I'm going to be sharing the discount code that I've got, a 10% discount code. Probably later today, actually. So do check out my Twitter, and I'll be sharing that 10% discount code if you are going to shop for any Brazilian shirts at Foot Fanatics. So more details on Twitter later today. Just catch up with the comments. Andrew saying the orange granny band is reminiscent of Houston Astros jerseys. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Andrew. Is that where it started? That's certainly the most classic example, isn't it? D5, nice, but just missing something to be really good. Is that with the Cruzeiro shirt, I assume, D? If so, I think that's fair. I do still think it's a really nice shirt, and I think, again, the pattern is lovely. You know, for another Galaxy shirt, was it Real Madrid with the... Unless I'm getting the team wrong. No, it wasn't Real Madrid. Who was the team with this... Oh, these fourth kits. Oh no, it was this. It was... So some of you may remember the absolutely bizarre Adidas digital kits, which, don't get me wrong, they was fun to see, but this one, this Cruzeiro shirt, it feels like, and you know, I wonder if it's the same pattern. I don't think it is, but you can see it's almost like it's been cut from the same cloth. But I do think this is much better, even though it's, you know, yeah, look at that again, you think, oh well, that is very similar. But nonetheless, and that was from a few years ago, I do think this is better, and of course it has much more of a connection with the team. So I do think this is a really nice shirt. Zhao said, not bad for them to have a custom-made shirt, especially now they're struggling in the second tier. That's true, mate. Yeah, I remember seeing that before that they got relegated, which is a shame to see. But what's the back? Is that Palmeiras logo? So I believe, I can't remember the story exactly, but there is a combination. I don't think it's the Palmeiras logo, but there is a similar story of I think they were Italian immigrants, or there's some historical connection where that logo I think originates from. I'd have to research that. Oh, here we go. The club's original crest features alongside the old one, the Palestra Italia. So yeah, there's an Italian connection of some sort, but I can't remember the exact story, Joe. But yeah, definitely want to investigate. So I say, give it like a Galaxy chocolate sponsor. It would be unreal indeed. I like that. I like that. Yeah, of course we should say all these Brazilian shirts. They will then have the sponsors added on, which can can hurt the shirt, but we'll judge the pictures we see. D saying, yes, just missing that. Something to pop. Indeed, indeed. Now we come to Charleston Battery. I really like the crest of Charleston Battery, and I love Hummel kits, but I don't like this. I think they've really missed the mark on a number of things, particularly when it comes to placement and sizing of the various details. I understand why you've got the Hummel logo in the middle of the black band, or black stripe I should say, and indeed the same with the crest, but they look so far apart. You know, really, I think even though it would cross over the lines, you'd actually want to see it, I think, on that break there, because they feel so distant. You'd want them to both come in a bit. And talking of distant, the gap around that Volvo sponsor is huge. Unfortunately, it's all very, very, I think, just badly placed, badly sized. No straps in the back, which it's just a thing in general, of course, but it's a shame. I think if you sorted that out, if you had the stripes continuing in the Volvo with a maybe like a border or some, even in a box, but with the stripes continuing, I think that would look better. Personally, again, kind of a bigger crest and slightly more to the centre. Move the Hummel in. I think the chevrons on the side, it's nice for the kind of novelty factor of not being on the sleeves, but the chevrons do just look better on the sleeves. So in short, despite how much I love the brand of the club and how much I love Hummel, this is definitely in the ice cube tier. It's a real shame. I think with little tweaks, this would look great. It could look like a really good kind of Watford kit or something like that. The kind of kit which would really challenge those higher tiers. But just those placements and the sizing. And I think, again, if we're being critical, we do need to be pretty critical. It looks to be a fully sublimated crest, which doesn't really add anything. Sublimated designs, that is when the details are within the fabric of the shirt, within the material of the shirt. Can work, but this one, just doesn't do it for me. So this, regrettably, despite being a Hummel shirt, and again, I really like the Charleston brand, but this one, doesn't do it for me. Just those placement elements, guys. When I see that, I'm really not excited, to put it mildly. I think this is actually quite badly executed, which is a real shame. And again, like Volvo as a sponsor, I quite like. Car companies, there's a novelty there. I don't mind that. In a world filled with gambling sponsors, I kind of like car companies, but oh no. Okay, this is yeah. So Andreas, exactly. So as I said, first time I've ever said this, I think the sponsor should look bigger. I agree. If it was bigger, that would help. Oh man, they've done it again with the placement. Are you kidding me? Look how. Oh, that is killing me. How far apart the details are. They've obviously just done exactly the same placement as the home. It ruins the shirt again. I mean, this shirt, actually, I'm not as big on anyway. The idea, the kind of cloud, the mist, I don't know. I mean, if you remember Mönchengladbach's away shirt from, was it 1 year ago, 2 years ago? Where is it? Again, I'm sort of freestyling here. Was it the 2021? Oh, I'm thinking, sorry, not this year, last year. This one, 2019. This kind of smoke idea, it can work. I think this one wasn't bad. Obviously the sponsor was pretty jarring there, but they've not committed to it enough if they're going to go down that route. I mean, it's good to see it on the back, but yeah, just straight up the placement of that makes this an instant ice cube. Look out! Oh man, there's so much real estate between that crest and that humble logo. Very disappointing to see. It really does ruin what would otherwise be a solid set of kits. But this one, yeah, this is one of the worst, just for the placement and the sizing of the details alone. This is a double whammy for Charleston. And I like this one even less than the home. Again, I think the idea in the colours, the kind of yellow mist isn't a great look, I don't think. So yeah, really, really disappointed to see a Hubble kit this low, but even my love for Hubble cannot override, as I say, that gap there. You could fit another shirt there. That is bad. And I just said the smoke design looks better on the back than the front. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think when you see the back, you know, especially in this shot, you've got a bit more of it to play with, and that is good. I agree, but yeah, disappointing. Miami FC, we've got a Macron shirt, and we're another shirt from the US, of course. I think this one, I don't remember seeing it before, so I'm just taking it in as we go through. Let's just see what we've got here. The words here on the back, they're kind of embossed. Miami neighborhood, so the name of neighborhoods in Miami. Interesting to see a different pattern on the back to the front, where you've got the waves, and that's quite creative. It's rare that you see that when you've got a kind of different embossed patterns. I don't like the collar in this one, I must say. This kind of, I don't know what you describe it as, the kind of button down or kind of stitched down collar. I don't really like that. It feels like you've kind of almost got, because you've already got quite a lot going on with the placket and the front of the collar there. So that, just as a collar, is quite ugly, I think, at least for me. I do like the creativity. I think that, you know, it's interesting to see different elements on the back and front, but I don't mind that. I think that's quite interesting. And even though I'd personally like a bit more of the orange, it's good to see it on the cuffs, one of the more prominent areas of the shirt, and that does add something to the shirt. The Miami crest, I'd be interested to see, obviously that's, I'm assuming their default style, but I'd like to see the blue match to the shirt. That could be quite interesting. But in short, there's enough ideas here to make me think this might be in the camel tier. It's certainly hovering around that area. I really don't like that collar. The more I look at it, the more I think that whole area of the shirt to me is quite clunky. There's too many ideas going on there. And maybe that's hypocritical when I say that I like the kind of contrasting patterns. But I do think there's something about that. Yeah, so although looking at that, it's kind of odd that it's just in the top section of the shirt. But in short, I think this one probably just about sneaks into the canon tier. I do like that shade of blue. It looks better in these shots here, but I think even in that light, it's nice. It's nice. Detail on the back could be higher quality, but in short, this one has some nice ideas, and I think that's exactly where many of the camel tier shirts sit. As I say, I think if it's not far, it's probably the lower end of the camel tier. I think, you know, were it not for the nice execution of the waves or that little strip of orange on the cuffs, I think you could easily be looking at something in the lowest tier. As such, we'll stick it here. We'll stick it in the gap. It's nice. It is a fresh colour as a whole, that kind of light blue. A little bit punchier as well than, say, the blue of the Locomotive secondary colour there on the shirt. A little bit brighter. Works a little bit better for me. And this is interesting. Looks like on the away shirt, we've got a reverse of the pattern, or certainly that pattern, which I think is the same as the one on the back of the home shirt is there. And I wonder, do we have the waves on the back? We don't have the waves on the back here. But that's a really nice detail to tie in, again, if we just quickly quick show you. You see the back of this shirt. It's not the same, but it's a similar idea to the front of the away. That's a nice combination. I prefer this collar. I still don't love this style, but I much prefer it to the home. And I actually quite like seeing the Miami crest there matched to the shirt. So actually, I think I like this slightly more than the home. I think this actually, and as a combo, they've got a nice kind of combination together. They're doing slightly different things, but that's that's kind of what you want. They still feel like a collection, not just two random kits. It looks like the back neck detail is the same. So yeah, some nice elements here. I think color wise, even though this isn't as vibrant. I do like the fact that they've gone for a slightly more minimalist approach. The pattern itself isn't the prettiest to look at, but I do like that you've got that same pattern, or the same idea of the pattern in the home. So there's some good stuff here. I do like it more than the home. Oh, sorry guys. Do other streamers have this problem where they end up yawning loads because they are talking too much? I don't know how they get through it. Or maybe I'm just perpetually tired. I don't know. D say, Macron have done really well recently. Hopefully it continues. Yeah, I think Macron are really, really solid. They're many people's kind of top 10, I think, in the world, if not more. I think they are generally, I think, not only for the volume of teams that they work with, but I do think their work is quite quality. And they do have some really kind of strong individual or kind of very Macron-esque features. Things like embossed patterns on the top area of the shirt, they really do well, often behind the crest. Brock asking, favourite surprising colour combo that works on a shirt? So Pauli, brown and red, verde, green, orange, any others? Ooh, good question. Surprising colour combos. Huh. You've mentioned some good ones there. I can't think of any off the top of my head, Brock. Let me come back to you on that. And as we go through, hopefully we'll come across some. Memphis 901 FC. This is a real missed opportunity, guys. A stock Puma template, which you've seen quite a lot. And when you look at the crest, look how... it's not my favourite crest, but it's so interesting. You've got all these line elements, which I guess are in the template pattern. But in short, this is just an ice cube shirt because it is. I mean, look at that. The colours and the design of that are so interesting, and none of that has been utilised. I mean, I guess they've looked at the Puma catalogue, and this is the closest thing they've got in terms of aesthetics to the crest from Puma's stock templates, but it just looks completely forgettable. Very little identity in the shirt. And again, you look at that crest, I could do something really fun with that. Maybe something neon, or some elements. They've not even started to go down that route. So it's just an ice cube t-shirt. It's nothing exciting. The standard should be higher. And I know we're not looking at one of the biggest teams or the big teams in America. And templates can be done well, but this one doesn't stand out. I'm unsure if the colorway is bespoke to the team. It doesn't look like it is, but we're going to leave this one in the ice cube tier. I think it is a little bit naff. D say Dundee FC because the season are pretty good. Would be interested to hear your thoughts. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Have we come across any Dundee? We've got is that Dundee United? I hope I'm getting my Dundee teams right there. I can't remember. I feel like we did come across a Dundee shirt, but if not, well, we've only been doing shirts released this year, so to be fair, it would have to be like a third of anniversary kit. And I'm just saying the extra sponsors on the shorts give it a South American vibe. That's true. It does. It does have that vibe. Honestly, yeah. Looking at that, I don't mind the shorts, but I just think this is a really, really. It's too safe. It's too simple. Guys, we're going to take a short break. But we're only 1 hour in. We've got 2 hours to go. We've not been moving as quickly as we could be. I'm probably talking a bit too much, but we will be continuing. I think, again, we're on page 7. We can definitely get to some of these lower numbers today. Going to take a short drinks break. I will leave you with the outro screen, though. I'm trying to remember what shortcut I had. But see you very soon, and we'll continue. Hello everyone, we're back. Let's continue with our rankings. We'll go to Scotland. Now, of course, national team shirts, very much on everyone's mind, given this week's World Cup qualifiers. Looking at this shirt, which was released for the Scotland women's national team, this one got a lot of love, and understandably so. I really like the use of purple. It's a very small thing, but I commented this on Twitter when the shirt came out, that having that element of purple, even though it's very subtle, it does so much heavy lifting. It does so much work for the shirt. This is an example, and I've said it a few times in this series, where a third colour, a tertiary colour, can add so much. Not all the time, but I think when done well, it works well. And honestly, seeing the purple, and it's very subtle, but if you look here, you can see it on the collar and the cuffs. I think without that, this shirt feels quite flat. And even though it's got the central crest, which is, some people like, personally, I'm kind of 50-50 on them. But despite how little it's been used, the purple, I think, really is the standout feature. Looking again, obviously the design, Adidas have used this collar for a number of teams over recent years. But just looking at this here, it definitely is, it's certainly, for me, it's maybe pushing the Flames tier. I think it probably is in the Flames tier. And it is largely because of that third colour. Thomas said, can't even see it on my screen. Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Many people said the same. They when I mentioned this on Twitter again, people said it just looks blue. Wish I could say it looks nice. It looks nice, but it looks like a training kit. I think this one really feels like it needs that number there, and it needs some competition patches. I think with those on, it would look so much better. I think often international kits do feel a little bit, well, they look a bit half done, don't they, initially? But honestly, I'm big on this kit. I do think it's really good. I think looking the Adidas logo and or the crest, maybe that's a bit small. I don't know. Zhao says Scotland FA has one of the best logos. I really like it. Yeah, I really like it too. The rebrand that they did was pretty tasteful, and even though it's a round crest, which I've criticised in the past, but I do think there is, well, it's one of the better examples of them. So yeah, in short, I think this is going to go in the Flames tier. I rate this, and it is that purple, guys. I've said it so many times in the last 5 minutes, but it's that really does elevate this shirt from being somewhere in this area to somewhere here. D saying we looks like a Sweden away. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that, D, for sure. I can definitely see that vibe. But yeah, I think this is, you know, it's on the kind of mid to low end of this Flames tier. But I would put it along these kits. I do think it is a nice, I think it's one of the better Scotland shirts. And again, if we compare men's and women's shirts, Scotland shirts, I think this one does rank up there for me. I think the Central Crest helps this kit. And I think this is a hot kit. As we continue, guys, I haven't said so far, but do subscribe. If you're just tuning in for the first time and you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button. And you will, of course, keep up to date with new releases of videos. I'm also doing some new shorts videos. You'll see those on my channel. I did a couple today on the Arsenal kits that have leaked for next season. I'm just trying to diversify my content and trying out that format. So do check that out if you're not already. And do subscribe if you haven't already. Now, looking at Wales, it's obviously a very similar story to the Scotland shirt. Another centralised crest and another really good centralised crest. I really like this Wales rebrand. Wasn't to everyone's taste, but I think this is one of the better modern rebrands. It feels, well, it works in any size, but it definitely has that traditional element with the dragon. But it's just it sounds funny, but the posture of the dragon is good. It's a very good crest, and it's nice to see it in the shield in an era of so many round crests. And on a personal note, I really like this style of collar and cuffs. It's very simple. It's just a crew neck, but the fairly wide, fairly chunky cuffs with the green inner band, I think works well. So I think this compares very similarly to Scotland's, and I do think this is another example of a good international shirt. Yes, it probably needs the numbers and again the competition patches to really shine, but I think this is as good, if not better, than the Scotland shirt. And I mean, like the Scotland shirt, that green does so much. It really does. Of course, Wales' current kit, or the current men's kit as well, had many kind of Spain comparisons, which is quite funny with the yellow and gold. I didn't mind that, but this one certainly feels like it's a little bit more of an obvious Wales kit. In short, I think it's really good. I think this is a really good example of an international kit from Adidas. So I'm happy to put this one in the Flames tier alongside the Scotland shirt. And I think I'll nudge it even higher. That's how much I like this one. Again, I think once you see this on pitch and you see this with things like the numbers and the competition patches, I think you'd really, really start to see this one being talked about as one of the better. I think this, is just a really, really good international shirt. Oakland Roots. Oh, I just kicked my desk. Oakland Roots, a team with one of the most exciting crests in world football. Certainly one of the most colourful ones. But that's been all stripped back for a very, very... well, it's not a blackout shirt, but it's almost a blackout shirt. A steel or a grey on black look, silver on black. Probably the most notable detail, certainly the thing I noticed first, was that this is in Puma's Ultra Weave construction, which is their latest player issue technology. Good to see that being rolled out in the US. Of course, Italy had this construction on a recent shirt. Now, even though I love the Oakland Roots crest in colour, I think this style, throwing it back to a very muted look, it works well. And I think the Ultra Weave is the best thing about this. So even though that's not specific to the team, of course, I think there's certainly a novelty for someone like me who sees so many kits. I've not seen an Ultra Weave shirt in person, but I think there's something to be said about it. Seeing things like the kind of double knit on the cuffs, that is to say, this kind of knit structure, which then, it's got kind of two levels to it, which a number of teams have done. Let's think about the Ultra Eve, which reminds you of some of Puma's work in the noughties. It's not necessarily the nicest to wear, but from a structure or technology perspective, it was interesting. So anyway, in short, I think this is actually really smart. And again, I think if this wasn't in Ultra Weave, I would look at it a bit less, with less excitement. And just the other thing about Oakland Roots, it's interesting. They've done this with their shirts with Nike as well, previous to the Puma shirts. I think, is it an area code, the 510? I can't remember what it is, but it's interesting. There's a novelty factor to seeing that next to the Puma logo. It's a good point from Thomas saying, I don't like how close the crest is a sponsor. It is a bit too close. That's true. That's true. But this doesn't hurt as much as, say, something like the Charleston battery kits, where they were so far that I kind of didn't like it for those reasons. So this I actually think is quite hot. I think this is in the flames tier. And I'm surprised I'm saying that because, as I say, one of my favourite features about Oakland Roots was the crest and the colourful crest. I think as well, yeah, it's a nice take on that relatively kind of trendy black direction, but I do like that. Zhao said, just because you mentioned competition patches, will we finally see some nice World Cup patches, or will we get those two big squares again? Oh yeah, that's a good point, Zhao. They have been pretty bad, haven't they? All those, well, for a long time, World Cup patches have been some of the worst. Certainly some of the clunkiest. So yeah, I hope we see that for sure, Zhao. So yeah, no, I really like this shirt. It is, as I say, it's those details and the construction which I think gives this one an edge. And even though I'd like this to be a slightly chunkier plastic, that is the applications, I like the shininess of it. I think it works well. I think it looks good. Oh, pardon. I think it looks good in the promo shots as well. If you come to the away, the thing about the away, and it sounds really funny, but because it's not in Ultra Weave, I'm less excited about it. And we shouldn't punish them too much for that. But and even though we've got that wonderful crest in all its colourful glory, I think this is just I don't like the shade of green as well. I'm assuming it's matched to the green here, which obviously would be a reasonable choice, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I think this one, I mean, the pattern, I'm just trying to understand if that's a bespoke one. I think it may be bespoke. I don't remember seeing that. It has the look of a catalogue pattern or a template pattern, though, doesn't it? I think that's the thing. It's not particularly exciting. And yeah, just because this is in Puma, you can see dry cell there. They're more standard construction. I think this one, I place this decidedly below the home shirt. There's enough probably keeping it. I think this one is it's hovering between this area for me. If let's cut it out, and we'll do what we've done, which is just compare to similar shirts, see what else is in this kind of area. Because we want to try and rank stuff relative to each other, of course. I think this reminds me of the Locomotive shirt we looked at before, the El Paso shirt. And I think for that, yeah, I think this one does go in this lower candle tier. So I really don't like this as much as the home. I think if we saw this in the Ultra Weave though, and you got a kind of nice contrasting colour for the calves, and the neckline, I think this could easily go much higher. But as is, yeah, and even the pattern. It might be bespoke to the team, but just because it's bespoke doesn't mean it's a good pattern. Now, in a similar story to the Oakland Roots Homecare, we've got the New Mexico United Homecare, again in Ultra Weave, and it's a very simple thing. But it's good. I think it's in Ultra Weave. It certainly has a more interesting look. As I'm saying that, it might not be actually. I think we're not in Ultra Weave. But regardless, the cuffs, the contrasting cuffs and collar work so much better. So I got carried away saying it's Ultra Weave, even though it isn't. That it is nice to see, compared to the Oakland Roots, where it just felt like it was missing something. I do think this one stands up much better. Very reminiscent colour-wise to the Columbus Crew kit, of course. I think this is really good. I think actually, when I look at this, it does compare quite well to that Columbus kit. We ranked that very highly. We ranked that in the Flames tier. We ranked that in the Hot tier. So I think that shade of yellow and the black as a secondary colour is a good combination. Great photography as well. I'm really enjoying the promo shots with the sunset. The sponsor, though quite big, I think it works quite well. And I do think the pattern. The only thing I'd say about the pattern, it does feel a bit generic. It feels like, I mean, a number of teams have done this sort of pattern. So in that sense, it feels a bit throwaway, but at the same time, it does add something. I think without that, it would feel a little bit empty. You'd want to see some sort of subliminal pattern like the Columbus kit. So I don't think I like this one as much as the Oakland Roots kit, but I think it is a bit like it is in the hot tier. I think it compares to some of those other shirts, which are relatively well, it's the colours really that are driving this one predominantly. I think that's the thing. The black, there's a good amount of black in there to balance that yellow. And that's one of my favourite things about shirts, when you've just got good colours. It sounds obvious, but I really do think that is one of the better things about, well, take the Austin kit. I think that's very similar. Black as a secondary detail can work so well, and when you've got the right sort of base colour, it's beautiful. And you can't see it in that little small picture that I've cut out, but you do see, again, the contrast in cuffs and neckline. Really good. Really good. I think to take this one to the next level, you'd want to see, I think the pattern feels a little bit too random. And I think you'd want to see, I don't see anything much in the way of details. So something like a jot tag or back neck detail could elevate this one as well. Rover said, didn't they have Meow Wolf as a sponsor before? Yes, they did. I think they did. If that's the right team I'm thinking of, unless that's another team, Rover. What's that another team? You know what? We can just Google it, can't we? Was that another American team? No, it was New Mexico. And incidentally, look at that. That's so good. I love that. I don't think we'll come on to that, but that is really good. And we will rate that highly when we come to it. Really interesting shirt here. One I've not seen much of, North Carolina FC. Now, what is going on with that sponsor? In fact, we've got the home and away here. I assume this is the away, and this is the home. Now, let's start with the home. This one is one of Adidas's template patterns, stock patterns. Not used by many teams though. It wasn't overly done, which is good to see. I think sometimes when you see a template pattern, it helps when you've not seen tons of it around. And this one I don't think was overly saturated. However, it's hard to get too excited by these colours. I feel like even things like the gold, the shade of gold there, I get it because it matches the crest, but it feels it's a bit washed out. I don't think it's a really nice combo. The pattern does go on the back, which is good, and we always like to see that. But yeah, in short, I mean the sponsor as well is quite clunky. I think this one has to go in the Ice Cube tier. Even though I think, what was it? I can't remember the shirt. We looked at another shirt. Oh no, so with the El Paso shirt. Similar story in that it was a template pattern, but I think that one was a bit nicer colour-wise than this North Carolina one. So we're trying to get a good crop there. There we go. This one, it's a melting ice cube, as we've called it before. It's one of the better ice cube shirts, but it's not quite reaching the top few tiers. So we'll stick it here. Now we come to the away shirt, and it's all about that sponsor, Dreamville Festival. Now I'm not familiar with Dreamville Festival. Thomas saying Dreamville as a sponsor, that's sick, man. I am out of touch because I don't know what the festival is. That is a crazy sponsor. I mean, looking at that, this is an interesting experiment, an interesting thought experiment. How much does a sponsor carry a shirt? Because that is doing all the work here. Without that, it's very, very plain. Very plain. I think, there's something about that crest which stands out quite nicely on the white base. I think the sponsor alone keeps this from the bottom tier because it's so out there. Okay. Thomas, thank you. Thank you for the intro. Dreamer is J. Cole's record label, massive hip-hop artist. Yeah, so I have heard of J. Cole. I'm not 100% out of touch. But then again, I didn't know that Dreamer was his record label. No, that is a really cool sponsor. I think that alone again is such a novelty, and sometimes sponsors, like for me, though not not nearly as interesting visually as this Dreamville sponsor, the Rocket League one for the San Diego kits. That was a similar story of a novel sponsor, which actually is a positive for a shirt. It's not often you can say that. Sorry, I was just catching up with the comments as well. Ragav, you guys have been bunking up with Arsenal. That black and gold shirt is filth. For anyone who wants to see that shirt, thank you, Ragav. For anyone wants to see the shirt, check out one of my new YouTube Shorts videos. That's on the channel if you go and have a look. 30 seconds on the Arsenal shirts. D says, sponsor says a Dreamville shirt. Yeah, buy it just for the sponsor. Yeah, this is one of those shirts where the sponsor is enough of a reason. If you have any sort of affinity with J. Cole, or you also just like crazy sponsors. So this one I think actually is going to go in the candle tier, pretty much just because of the sponsor. But the crest is pretty sharp as well. I don't mind the crest as a design. That's crazy. That is such an interesting sponsor. Yeah. Nice. Very, very nice. I don't want to waste too much time with these guys. These, one of Nike's stock templates, off-the-shelf templates, Birmingham Legion, home away in third. I think the only thing I'll say about the red shirt is that, of course, having the Coca-Cola sponsor, the red one, it makes sense, right? That one is probably actually in the candle tier, just because of the novelty of having a red Coca-Cola shirt. But the other two, I'm gonna say now, they're easily in the Ice Cube tier. The crest is an interesting one. It's kind of quite a modern looking crest, and there's something to that. Also intrigued by this central detail on the red shirt with the Magic City. I don't know what that's all about, but that's another thing that separates the red shirt. So this one I'm happy to put in the candle tier. We talked about novel sponsors. I think this one definitely fits that bill. Coca-Cola have, of course, been all over football shirts over the years. But I think this one it's certainly a collectible shirt in that sense. If you like food and drink sponsors, if you're a fan of Coca-Cola. So I'm going to stick that one in the calendar. Probably somewhere in the middle. And again, I do like this detail here. There's not much to be said about it, other than I think it does help give the shirt character, because it's otherwise a relatively plain shirt, being in one of Nike's templates. The other two, I'm going to have to rank them in the bottom tier, even though this particular template, I think it's called the Strike template, I might be wrong. It's not one that's been, I don't know, I've seen it enough that I'm not too excited by it. Yeah, in short, I'll just make sure that's saved there. I think you know, the black and the red Coca-Cola sponsor, it doesn't work as well as the red and white, and there's very little in the way of bespoke detailing. Sometimes plain shirts come out well, but I think because it's in this particular Nike template, which isn't one of the most interesting ones, this one is better than the white one for the Coca-Cola sponsor alone. I'll stick it here. I think, you know, if anything, it looks better in this. You know, the template itself. I do find this quite jarring how you've got the kind of the contrasting sleeves, but the continuation of the pattern, it's not the best look. So in that sense, the solid black base has something about it, but yeah. As I say, I don't think. Yeah, and not having the Coca-Cola sponsor, it really does let this one down as well. The third shirt, the white third shirt. So we'll rank that one in alongside its away counterpart in the Ice Cube tier. So there's much better in the league or in the country. We've seen a lot of American shirts today, and that's been good to see. I hope you've, well, let me know what you think of any of my rankings as we're going through, of course. Yeah, so that's Birmingham Legion. I think we'll rank that a bit lower than the black one. We'll stick this down here. We continue. And we come to New Mexico. Now this is great, guys. I really, really like this one. I mean, well, let's just take it in. Let's soak it in. Of course, New Mexico have had this particular sponsor before, and I'm trying to remember the look of that shirt now because I remember seeing the shirt on account of the sponsor. And was it this one? Am I thinking of the previous year? Maybe it was. I can't remember which year it was. I think it might have just been one of these ones. But this one, the body of the shirt really lends itself well. Yeah, quickly on the previous quiz. So I say, it feels like you saw the sponsor and thought, yeah, we can just match it with the colours of Coke Zero. Indeed. Yeah, this one, I think really, it's a really, really nice combination. Something which actually the previous shirts lacked, I think. Having that pattern in the body, those kind of speckles, the yellow dots, the yellow, almost like paint splatter effect or light kind of bokeh effect. It's really good. I would like to see this in Ultra Weave in the latest tech, but this is really good. I think aesthetically it's not as exciting as, I think I prefer the San Diego kit, but I am considering it still for the Volcano tier. I think when you think about, we talked about sponsors doing a lot of work. This one is so good. It's so memorable, both from the shape perspective and the colour perspective. I think honestly, well, let's just have a look. Let's have a look at, oh, that's not the shirt we wanted. Again, I've not solved my clipboard issue where I think if an image is too big, it's not letting me copy it. I still need to figure that one out. Thomas saying, give it a Volcano. Come in for you have to. Thomas, I am considering it, my friend. I am considering it. I think I will. Because when I look at this shirt, again, we've seen a number of New Mexico shirts which have had this sponsor, the Meow Wolf sponsor. But this one is the best of the lot. And I really do think, again, I would rate this lower if we see this pattern used a lot. And maybe, you know, again, if this isn't bespoke to the team. but I really think this is good. Yes, I would like to see it in ultra weave, but this is a hot shirt. This is a Volcano t-shirt. I mean, look at that. Again, presentation is absolutely top notch. I'm going to use this image. It's slightly different, but I prefer that even more. I think this is excellent. With a different, I do think I prefer the San Diego shirt of the two, but that's not to take away from New Mexico too much. I think this is still very much in the best tier. 2 volcanoes in one episode, unbelievable stuff. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, guys. I'm not getting soft in my old age. This is a rare volcano t-shirt, but we've had 2, both out of the States. I really think again we're seeing some good stuff. I mean, it's outside MLS, which probably tells enough of a story, but this is great. Just that image there, and yeah, sure. The background colours I think are helping a lot. But the shirt in isolation, it looks great. Black and yellow is a textbook combo. It's a very strong combo. But the sponsor as well, presentation is incredible. Look at that. The backnet detail, though simple, is excellent. Yeah, I'd like to see the speckles on the back, but every picture I see of this, and again, the backdrops. We're not rating the photo shoots here at the Hot Wall, but look at that. Look at that. It's great. It's a really good shirt. One I'd like to own. That is another Volcano t-shirt in today's episode. Look at that. What a day. If we were going to do it, it would be on this 3-hour long stream, wouldn't it? We're halfway as well. Plenty more to come. This is another shirt I've been privileged enough to see in person, the Real Betis Eco shirt. And the main story with this one is its sustainability, the production methods which use less water, and the cotton or the material as well has been sourced locally and sustainably. If we were to remove that from the story, or even without that, I think this is a really classy shirt. I like the colour combinations. It's quite an unusual choice to have two-tone green and a kind of beige colour there for the details. But I like that. Thomas saying nice to see a different shade of green. Yeah, I think this is quite smart. I think, of course, Betis have had, green is their colour. So they've had many shirts, whether that's green and white or all green. But I think this one feels like it's got its own identity. Again, it's got that kind of very kind of faded look. It almost looks like it's perpetually in the sun, like it's always in the sun. You can see it in some of the press shots here. But it looks good. And seeing this in person as well, I really like the colours of it. So this is definitely in the Flames tier. I think many people commented, rightly so, that they're talking about being sustainable, but they're only wearing it for one game. That is a bit funny. I look at this more about saying brands now are certainly trying to show that they can make shirts from fully recycled materials and things like that. So it's almost like, I saw someone describe it as like when a car company releases like a concept shirt. A concept kit, I should say, not a concept shirt. And sort of they're pioneering new technology and things like that. That's how I often look at these sustainable shirts. Yes, shirts need to be used over longer periods for the industry to really make a difference. But I like this one, and I think it's a really nice shirt from Kappa. It would look better with Kappa logos down the sleeves, but I think the combination of two-tone green and the beige looks great. No straps on the back, which is a letdown, but one of the better shirts we've seen today. That's certainly how I would rank it. We come to my boys, Boca Juniors. Now, anyone who's watched this channel before will know I'm a big Boca Juniors fan, or at least a fan of their kits. I don't claim to keep up to date with all their scores, although they did beat River in the Super Classico wearing this shirt. And this one has a lot of nice things about it. Now, I'm going to say this now before we get carried away. I don't think this is quite in the Volcano tier, and we could have had 3 in one episode, which would have been crazy. I do really like this one though. When I first saw it, I was I wasn't overly sold on it, but when I saw the direct reference, and there was someone posted a picture. I can't remember where the picture was from, but if we go to old football shirts, you can see where is it? There's the away shirt, the yellow away shirt. It's not here on our football shirts. For the sake of now I've started the story, we'll go to Boca Juniors shirt history. There's a great series here. I can't remember. There's a graphic designer who put together this this excellent series of graphics, and you can see here in the 80s, in the mid to late 80s, there was a great Boca away shirt, and this very much nods to that shirt. On top of that, you've got a pattern throughout the body, which is a really interesting kind of style of the team name, Boca, there as you can see with the stars. I think this one is quite nicely done. I think, given the fact it's one of those patterns where you don't notice it from a distance, but then you get to see it up close and it looks great. And as with many Boca Juniors shirts, the colours are excellent. The choice of yellow and blue is spot on. So it's a really good third shirt, and it's not far off being in the Volcano tier, honestly. I think for it to be there, you'd want to see the pattern on the back, and I think it's not the pattern itself isn't my favourite, even though I think it's very well done for the theme it is, the style it is. All that to say, this is very close to the Volcano tier. We are maybe at the foot of the volcano, so I'm going to put it right up there, alongside some of these other shirts here, like the AIKs of the world. I think this is really, really good. Certainly one I'd like to own, not least because it's Boca Juniors, but we'll stick it right here. So it's really, really good for Boca Juniors. Brock, favourite type of collar? It's a very good question. Honestly, I've seen quite a few over the years. I really like, and it's an unusual... Well, there's two collars that jump to mind. One is, if we look at the famous Liverpool Ecru shirt, the slightly higher neck, I really like this type of collar. You don't see it very well here in this picture, but it's basically a slightly higher neck, and I really like that. It's quite a casual look, but I like that style, Brock. And similarly, there's a Colo Colo shirt I got from the same era, from the late 90s, with another collar that I really like. If I can find the right one. It's an unusual collar. I don't think it looks necessarily very good on some of these pictures, but it's like a high crew neck again, but it's got a flappy collar in addition. That's I'm quite enjoying those types of collars. Look, laces, I'm not as big on. I'm not a big laces guy. Yeah, they tend to be quite Marmite, don't they, lace collars? But I'm on the kind of hate it side rather than love it side of that debate. Yeah, it's really good for Boca and Adidas. I'm expecting big things from their other kits this year as well. Independente, Medellin. Neither of these shirts do anything for me. Very, very safe to the point of being, well, I'm almost yawning just looking at the kits. I hate to say it. Very few redeeming features. I'm not... At first, when Adidas started doing these straps on the side, there was a novelty factor, but that's kind of been lost now. We've seen it enough times now. I don't really like... I mean, the pattern is completely forgettable. It feels very, very... Well, there's nothing about it at all. It probably needs more sponsors to be interested in that. That's genuinely what I'm thinking. So these are just both Ice Cube tier shirts, unfortunately. I think, we've had a few today which have been a kind of similar line. And I think this one, even just the colours as well, the colours feel very, very stock. Very, very, the fact you've got a red and a blue kit, which doesn't help because they're both very, very kind of generic colours. But the crest, it's funny as well. We're not judging the crest, or they shouldn't. It's not the main factor. But I'm not. Yeah, I've said a few times, haven't I, about gradients, and I'm not the biggest gradient fan a lot of the time. But D, you've summed it up, and just by saying yawn, my friend. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm now yawning. Although I haven't said that, I do that even when no one says yawn. But But yeah, yawn I think describes it. If I had to choose between the two kits, I'd probably take the red one, but I mean that's not really saying much. Very, very, well, not just average, below average kits. Just even just again, it's just the color choices feel like you would get exactly that same color off the shelf from a Timo supplier. Very, very disappointing. Easy ice cube selection. Don't need to waste any more time on those. We continue. We're making progress. We're now on page 5. Ooh, some good kits to come. We will start with Ireland. Now, we've had a couple of international kits today. We've looked at Scotland, we've looked at Wales. Looking at Ireland, this one feels very, very training top. The pattern, and I think they had a bit of a convoluted description for that pattern. It, to me, looks very, very just nondescript. Sort of vaguely camo, but I don't like that. And I think, whilst I like that they've got some orange, because I think you really need that in the kit, I think, you know, you could have it in the pattern, for example, or in the collar as well as the cuffs. Thomas, thank you so much, my friend. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your comments. Enjoy your time with your friend. Really appreciate it, mate. I'll see you around. Yeah, I think this one, I think this is an Ice Cube t-shirt. I think, you know, when we compare it to those Adidas releases, I'll just quickly zoom back on the Scotland and the Wales kits here, respectively. I think this one feels a lot cheaper by comparison, particularly that pattern. Not a good look for me. So that one is definitely, this shirt is definitely in the Ice Cube tier. I'd like to see more orange. I'd like to see just a better looking pattern. I don't think it's a very nice pattern. And I think, whilst I mentioned about liking higher collars before, I think, you know, genuinely I'd rather that was rounder. Maybe not the most comfortable for the players to wear, but I'd like to see that. Whereas this kind of style where it's quite high on the back but then drops to the front, yeah, it's a bit all over the shop for me. So let me just resize this and we'll stick it down in the bottom tier, unfortunately. Yeah, Zhao saying, I should only be allowed to use Guinness in spots, otherwise it's only bad. Indeed, Zhao, I like that ruling. I concur, I agree. And DC looks better with that sky spotter. It does actually, yeah. It does. I think, strangely. So I think we're going to sit that down here. Yeah, it gets lost in the crowd for me. It does have that training top vibe about it. Not in a good way. Comes to Las Vegas Lights. This was a really interesting one because initially when this kit was launched, we've got the away as well to look at. When this kit came out, there was a Maber sponsor and it looked amazing. If we just quickly Google Las Vegas Lights, Maber, and see, hopefully you can see, yes, you can see the away here. Look, that is a potential Volcano t-shirt. But, and again, without the C sponsor. But then you look at this with Coin Cloud, which I think is a cryptocurrency sponsor, and the horrible sleeve patch. And that immediately takes so much away from the shirt. So much. You know, on the home, again, we went from having an amazing looking shirt, which is, I think I like the away more than the home. It's got that contour vibe, which we talked about earlier, which I quite liked. But the sponsor hurts this one so much. Now, if we start with the home, I think there's something about the fact that the pattern, I think that it doesn't go on the sleeves. It's a bit jarring to have those black sleeves, the plain black sleeves, and the completely plain back. The colours are nice on this one. Carl, so this is tough for a horrible Island jersey. Have you seen the tracks yourself? I don't think I have, Carl. Let's have a quick look whilst we're here. Probably go Ireland. And then we need to do football. And then let's try and find an article. Belfast Live. I don't know if it will be here. I've got a horrible load of pop-ups. I'm going to leave it. If you, I'll have to look another time, Carl. But yay on 8 is actually was it good, my friend? Yeah, Las Vegas Lights, guys. I think this again, the sponsor is a bit of an eyesore. I think, especially when you compare it to the away, the home feels a little bit too. I don't think the passes are exciting, even though there's some nice colours in there. It's obviously, Las Vegas Lights have got on a very clear kind of theme and direction to go down, which they can play with quite a lot. I think this one has the beginnings of a really good shirt. John Carr just got in, didn't catch this that would be early. Yes, I didn't talk about that one a lot actually. I should have said made more video about it, but welcome, John Carl. And for anyone who is just tuning in, and we usually start at 4, of course, on these Thursday afternoons, you've missed a good one, because if I take us over to this side, look at this. 2 shirts have been added to the Volcano tier. 2 shirts. New Mexico United and San Diego Loyal. So there we go, guys. I mean, again, you can rewind the stream and catch up with that later today. It's been a big day, of course. We're still going to be shooting for another hour, so plenty more to come. Jumping back to Las Vegas again, I think there's elements here. The away, I'm so gutted that they changed the mailer sponsor. I really am. Again, I'll just show you guys once more. Well, if we just go Las Vegas Lights. This genuinely would be a contender for Volcano tier. It probably would be in the Volcano tier, or at least very hot. It's so good, and the home was the same. You can see here, but the downgrade is huge to Coin Cloud. Not only for the front shirt sponsor, but the sleeve sponsor as well. So if without that, again, as I was saying, it would be in the hot tier for sure. I think even with this sponsor combo, it's really nice. It has that. We talked about the Hackney Wick shirt. It's not as good as that for multiple reasons, but the contour vibe, when done well like this, I think works well. And I do like it. It's a bit busier. It's quite chaotic, but I do much prefer this to the home shirt. So despite all I've said about the sponsor, I think this is in the hot tier. I think there's a lot to enjoy, but it really is just that sponsor. And to go from there's such a novelty and kind of having Mabel on the front, not only for the visuals, but it was obviously great to see. It has been great to see them come back into football. They're really starting to find their feet. You'd like to see them at a few more clubs. But it's just really, really disappointing to see the downgrade. And it's hurt what would otherwise be a really, really strong shirt. And certainly one which would be challenging the higher tiers. Jumping back to the comments as well. So Carl mentioned saying the tracksuit was bad. Worse than the shirt, Carl, because I wasn't big on the shirt, that's for sure. D saying, I don't know the fact the pattern is repeated in the home away is definitely better. I agree. Also, the before match shirt, Carl. Gotcha. Broadcasting, did the sponsor change right after release? Yeah, so I think what, based on what it looked like, they did a photo shoot with the kind of almost maybe as the placeholder sponsor. And they later, after the photo shoot, made some sort of deal with Coin Clouds, but it's such a downgrade, it really is. And even though the Mabel sponsor is quite big, I quite like the look of the text there. I think that is the same as the one on the actual logo, isn't it? But yeah, just a huge downgrade. It's a real shame. John Costa, have you done full Madison? I mean, we're still on. Kit's released a couple of weeks ago, so we're still catching up with ourselves. But yeah, not yet, John Costa, not yet. Ross saying, what's your thoughts on the new LA jersey and the price difference in official and sports jerseys and look difference? Yeah, Ross, we talked about this a little bit before, and in general, MLS is probably the worst league when it comes to differences because you're missing often key details, not just kind of a nicer material or like a little detail, but massive elements of the shirt which are missing. So that is such a shame with MLS kits. And in short, I think it's just naff when you're paying big money. It's not like the replicas look like basic versions of kits. And basic kits used to be a bit of a thing where you'd have, you'd have like a third tier, which was missing a lot of details, but it would be for 20, 30 quid. And in that sense, I kind of like them if they're like that. But when they're priced at 60, £70, but they're missing so many details, it's bad. So in short, I think MLS is terrible for that. And often shirts, there's been many examples that look completely different. Carl saying the pre-match is even worse than the match shirt, the Ireland one. Yikes, man. That's bad. That's bad. Fortuna Düsseldorf. This is a really fun one. We've got, I believe, a local artist, Jacques Tilly. I don't know anything about him, but he's clearly had some fun on this shirt. It really does look like someone has just doodled on a shirt. And that's honestly quite fun to see. The thing is, I don't think even though it's a really nice idea. I think because the pattern is just restricted in that way, I can't consider this in the Volcano tier personally. But obviously, when you get nice and up close with the shirt, and it reminds me a lot of the Red Star FC away shirt from last year. Where you had, again, that's my own photo that I took there. Which footy headlines have pinched, but that's okay. They do that all the time. You can see here that you've got kind of intricate details which had that hand-drawn element. Very much true of the Fortuna Düsseldorf shirt as well. And it's great. When you see it up close, you can enjoy it. But then you look at the shirt as a whole, I still really like it. You've got, obviously, one of Adidas's base templates behind it as the base. That's fine. That's understandable. I think... sorry. We've only yawned about 6 times so far. I do need to go get a drink soon, actually, as well. I've already drank through most of the one we've had. Fortuna Düsseldorf, it's probably going to be close to the Flames tier because of the unique nature of it. But I think I'm going to put it in the counter tier. This might be controversial. I mean, let's have a look. As I've been doing a lot of times, I'm kind of constantly evaluating against the shirts that are already there to try and see where it should place on the hot wall. No, you know what? I think this isn't the Flames tier. I think, when you compare it to some of the other MLS kits, for example, I do think this has, because it has that hand-drawn aesthetic, which is quite smart, which is quite nice. I do like that, and especially when you compare it to, again, I think it stands above many of the shirts, if not all the shirts in this counter tier. I just want more of this. Not necessarily over the whole body, don't get me wrong. And, fair play to the artist. There's a lot of work that's gone into this pattern. It is really good. When you look at it up close, it is great, isn't it? Very kind of St. Pauli-esque skull and crossbones there. It's nice. Very nice indeed. Phoenix Rising. One of a number of American kits we have ranked today. Honestly, I don't like that collar. Just the style of it. I'd actually rather it was just a simple crew neck. And it feels very dated. This feels like a shirt from 10 years ago. Both in style and even just the kind of paneling of it. It just feels very... Well, yeah, I feel like I've seen this shirt 10 times already. And even though they've tried to incorporate the sponsor, colour-wise, but that doesn't really do it any favours. Sorry, guys. Again, oh dear, cannot stop yawning. I think that probably sums up the shirt, doesn't it? No, I think I would. Again, the crest. We don't evaluate the crest. We try not to too much, but it doesn't. Yeah, it looks very dated. It just the whole thing looks very, very dated, and that's the only way I can describe it. So I'm going to put this one in the ice cube tier. It's tough. You've got teams of this who they have these My Adidas templates, these Adidas stock templates, and there's very little they can do to give it an identity. Ross saying the Phoenix Rising, it looks like a Real Salt Lake shirt. It does a bit, doesn't it? Yeah. If you had a bit of blue, or if that black was navy, I think you could easily mistake it for one of their shirts. Instantly, Real Salt Lake. Where did we place them? We placed them here. That was in the candle tier. I think that one was just a bit better. Well, not just a bit better. I think it was quite a bit better. So we're going to stick Phoenix Rising alongside the Charleston kit, which again, that was for different reasons. I think this one had a lot more potential. Traffic cone, says John Carl. Yeah. This one, yeah. We're going to pass on that one. Coming now to Indy 11. Indy 11, of course, well, if you haven't seen before, they heavily play on the kind of the flat or the racing checkered flag theme. What's interesting about this one? Like we've seen quite a few of the Puma USL shirts. I really like that they've gone full checkered flag, checkerboard, chessboard, however you want to call it, and the fact that it goes all the way up the top and just a little bit over the back and on the sides. There's it's not just the front panel, or if the construction of the shirt was in such a way that you'd only see the checkerboard from the front, I'd like it a lot less. But when you see the back and you've still got the checkerboard quite clearly there, that's good. I'd love it even more if it was all the way on the back, but there's enough of it on the back, if that makes sense, I think, to give this one a bit of an identity, or certainly to make it stand out. And I like this. It's such a small thing, but the fact that you see how the Honda sponsor fits so well within those squares. Generally the placement, and I don't know if this will be different on different sizes of the shirt. I guess that would be, but just on this photo alone, look at that, guys. The gap between the Honda sponsor and the edge of the squares, and again the top of that there, it's just very, very well placed. So maybe they've just lucked out on the sizing. I don't know how that compares, but in short, I think this is a hot shirt. Is it as good? It's nowhere near as good as these shirts here. But I really think this is actually sneakily good. You could easily just look at it and say, oh yeah, it's just a checkerboard shirt. But things like how the back of the shirt looks, and again the placement of the sponsor, the sizing of the sponsor relative to the sizing of the checkerboard, it's good. The colours don't excite me as much as some of the other colourways, and even within this Flames tier, there are colourways I like more. But the pattern, again, I really like. So I'm happy to put this one. I think it compares pretty well to something like the Palmeiras or Portland Timbers. Steve saying great sponsor, poor placement. I really like the placement, even though it's not easy to see the sponsor. I think the sizing is what does this one here a lot of favours. John Carl said the checkers would be the same size regardless of the size of the shirt, so the sponsor would still fit. Good stuff. That makes sense, actually, John Carl. Because, of course, if you had different checks, then you could end up with very, very small squares or big squares, conversely, if it was a large check. That makes complete sense. The away is very, very plain. I mean, it's funny. We've talked a lot about Ultra Weave, and if you're just joining, earlier on we were talking about Ultra Weave. We ranked Oakland Roots shirt quite highly. With the Ultra Weave construction owing a lot to that ranking. Or the ranking owing a lot, I should say, to the L2 construction. This, I think, gets a bit lost. Now, despite the simplicity of it, if we stick this in here, I think really the only way you're going to appreciate this is up close, and even then, it's very, very plain. But I think, again, a bit like the Oakland Roots conversation, if this was in dry surf, this is in Puma's standard replica tech, this would be an easy ice cube. But honestly, I don't mind having a plain white shirt as a complement to the checkerboard home. And I think that's where this one makes more sense. In isolation, I think this is an easy ice cube shirt. But I do think in comparison, as a tandem, I don't mind seeing the plain white shirt. And because it's an ultra weave, you've got those little construction elements which are more interesting. Of course, that's basically not up to teams. Often that is just largely down to the manufacturer. But teams still have to opt for it, and I think again it's a good move to have that. The cuffs are just much more interesting, and similarly the back neck and the neckline. So there's some good stuff there. As I say, I'm going to put this. Get a good shot of the cuffs there. Put this in the Camel tier, even though it's basically a plain white shirt. And a really good question from Carl. When is a white shirt nice, and what makes a boring white shirt? It's a really good question. For me, Carl, it comes down to things like the details, and by that I mean both the look of the details and the execution. So, for example, with a shirt like this, like the crest, how is it applied on the shirt, and is it just a nice looking crest? And you can say the same about the other elements like the sponsors, but particularly the brand mark and the crest are a big part of it. Then I'm looking at things like the construction of the shirt. So with Adidas and Leeds, that template, that construction is very, very simple, and it hasn't really changed a lot. Now Puma, and again, even though it looks like quite a simple shirt, I like the look of this new construction. I haven't actually seen it in person, but Ultra Weave as it's called, it's not as flashy as like a Nike VaporNet or Dryfit ADV now. But again, this just is so much more interesting. Even then, compared to the home construction. And that goes for not just the collar and the cusp, but the actual material. So basically, it's the stuff which no one really cares about, apart from a few people like us. That's what I would say, Carl. So I think Leeds, again, if we were to do a comparison, we go to the home shirt, and I mean, we could. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Also, things like the neckline, but that one has, like, honestly, Leeds should be having. I think of the two shirts, they've both lacked the extra edge, and even though I think it's nice to have the yellow in there, it does add, compared to the previous home. Yeah, I think. Honestly, I rank this one higher, and it's largely because of things like the construction elements. That's my take anyway. Guys, a very quick drinks break. I will be a few minutes, and I'll see you on the other side. Actually, to remember the scene that I've got now, I think it's this one here. Hello. Yeah, got my glass of water. Let's continue. We were just catching up on the chat as well. Carl saying 90s English church with sublimated designs, England 90s World Cup, Leeds, home, and so on. They are great examples, Carl. And I think that's the thing. Subliminal patterns or designs add so much to a plain shirt. And it's kind of coming back slowly, but it's a bit of a lost art in the modern game. But yeah, great examples here. International. Typically, they are very conservative with their shirts, very simple. This one is, I mean, it's funny how so many Adidas teams are going to have collars like this. I think I saw someone saying that potentially, depending on how the leaks pan out, we could be looking at every elite Adidas team having a home shirt with the collar. So that is the top tier of Adidas teams. So we'll wait and see if that materialises. International here, it's a very, very simple look. Again, because we're going to see this collar, and we have seen this collar on a number of teams. But I mean, we can look here. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And Colo Colo and a Universitario, both with similar designs, if not the same template. I think this one compares to those quite well, especially with the detail, which I think is really nice. It's a simple style, but visually I think it looks great. And the team are blessed with one of my... Yeah, I often hate on round crest, but I quite like the look of that one. Ban Risol as well. They've sponsored the team for a number of years. Yeah, this one, honestly, I think I'm probably going to rank it alongside its Colo Colo fellow Adidas counterpart. Just because I don't think it's got as many nice elements as the I said Universitario. Is that the name or the Chilean club, which I can't remember their full name. So we're going to stick this one, I think, again, in a similar ballpark to some of the other Adidas kits. You're going to be seeing a lot of this colour if you haven't already. It's got, I think this one, it needs something like a subliminal pattern to really go to the next level. Or if, you know, the sponsor or the crest, or there was some detail like this one here, but I think it needs something more, or maybe just high, you know, the quality of shirt details is so high now. I think of something like on the Portland Timber shirt, where they're nice and chunky and more plastic. Those are the kind of things you need to get to the higher tiers. Orange County. Now, it would be strange for a team named Orange County not to have an orange kit. Orange and black as well is a potentially strong colourway, but I'm not big on this pattern. It's difficult, you know, but this one, it's a bit like, and the team name escapes me. Where was it? Let me just, it was this shirt here, and I can't remember the name of the team, honestly. But it had this kind of, this pattern, which I think I actually prefer the pattern on this one here. Looking at Orange County, orange and black is such a good colourway, but when I look at this here, I honestly think I'd rather see that pattern on the sleeves. I think that immediately would be better in my mind, because it just kind of muddies the shirt. The sponsor, I think this one, again, you're working with a good, potentially really good colourway, certainly a memorable colourway. Orange and black could be really memorable. As is, I don't really like this. I don't like that line-based pattern. And I think if that was on the sleeves, you could do something quite interesting. It could, you know, it would look maybe a bit Dortmund-esque, where you've kind of got a crazy set of sleeves and a relatively plain body. I think that is actually quite a nice direction to go down. But this one, I don't know. Maybe the lines are bespoke. I don't think I've seen that exact pattern before this season. But I'm not particularly big on it, so I'm going to put this one the higher end of the ice cube tier, but not really challenging anything higher than that for me. Quite a forgettable one. And that's despite the colourway being pretty strong. And the away shirt. Now, immediate difference is the sponsor seems to be in a full colour variant, or at least in a more colourful variant. But this is another example of a pattern which feels like one you've seen many times before. Now, of course, you know, similar kind of colours we're dealing with here, but I don't really think that base, even though it's on the sleeves as well, which is good to see, not just on the body, it feels very, very generic. I think I do actually think I prefer it to the home, but that doesn't mean I like it much more. I still think this is a classic Ice Cube shirt. Certainly not one which I think will be on many people's radars. And that's the thing, when you've got kind of, lower league American teams, the standard is high. This maybe 10 years ago might be considered one of the above average kits, but in America, but not at the moment. The standard is so competitive at the moment, and no way exemplifies that more than the two kits that made it into the Volcano tier today. So Adidas, this is kind of the worst example of Adidas, really, isn't it? Very forgettable. Now, this shirt had a lot of interesting coverage around it. This is Vicenza's icon kit. Now, the story here goes that the owner, I believe, of the team also owns the fashion brand Diesel, and you can see Diesel as the main sponsor. And I believe the shirt was worn in the game, but fans protested against its use. And if I'm right in saying this, the owner came out and basically said, "Sharp, you don't know what you're talking about," to the fans. That's a paraphrase, but there was a bit of back and forth between the owners, and it was quite interesting. And the funny thing is, I think the shirt is it's certainly got a lot going on, and I quite like it, honestly. They've got a great badge. I really like their badge, and I actually like the pattern. Sure, it breaks off to form a box, but it is essentially starting on the back and going on the back. And there's something quite kind of, it reminds me a lot in the noughties. We'd have these kind of, something like AC Milan, I think of their shirts. They'd often have these kind of little blocks to put the name in, but you still have the stripes around that. And I like that. And just as a shirt, it's pretty crazy, but, and the collar is quite jarring. It almost looks like a different shade of red. That might just be the material, maybe. But in short, I think this is actually really, really. I like the look. It is out there, but I think it plays together well. I'm not, the Lotto logo and the Aeon sponsor there, pretty clunky. I'd rather they were a bit cleaner, and you could have like the main Lotto symbol would look much better, maybe, and things like that. But there's a really kind of creative element to this shirt. I'd also like to see that as a high quality detail rather than just sublimation, but that's okay. So I rate this shirt. It's pretty out there. It feels like a striped shirt that's just been completely kind of blown apart, and the details are kind of have been completely kind of broken down. But I like the overall look. So I'm happy to put this one in the Flames tier. That's I say, it won't be popular with the Vicenza fans. That's my take on it nonetheless. Just checking, guys. Sorry, as I look on here, I want to make sure I'm getting the chat, because I think there we go. Ross saying, "Do you like the limited edition Bari home and away shirt? I think the home is classic and minimal." In short, I really do like them, Ross. When we get to it, it could be a Volcano tier, honestly. It's certainly going to be in the top 2 tiers. Let me put it that way, Ross. It is really, really good. But this one, Vicenza, as I say, I think this one actually is pretty good. I think, if you look at their kits usually, and again, we'll go to our football shirts, just for a quick snapshot of their kits. You can see they usually have striped kits. So this, honestly, for the kind of shirt it is, the kind of limited edition, special edition, and I think particularly the way that back name and number has been done, having the black the block white, but I actually quite like that. Steve is saying Diesel is a class sponsor and the stripes are pretty sharp. Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's quite a collectible shirt. It's quite good. Vasco da Gama. Now, you guys all know I like my Brazilian shirts, and you also know that I'm working with Foot Fanatics. And incidentally, my 10% code, I'm going to be sharing that. If not today, tomorrow, I'll be sharing that on Twitter. And just quickly before we go on to this one, comment from D saying that's just is the tradition for the actual fans. Yeah, I can completely understand that, and I can certainly understand why people weren't a fan. If you're a fan of the club, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, just on this got a lot of buzz online, and I think much of it is down to the long sleeves and the Kappa logos, but also the neckline is really interesting, and I think I'm not sure what I think about it, but it is a fresh take or an unusual take on an area of the show which is often quite predictable. I'm just going to say though, there's something about these Kappa logos. I'm not a big fan of the one black on the end here and the silver. I'd either want to go all black all the way up the sleeves, or maybe I don't know, maybe all silver, but. This is a great shirt. Let's not get bogged down in the details. I think this is really good, and we can see here there's some stars on the back. I like that. The sash goes all the way around the back, which is excellent. So this is good. I really think this is obviously Vasco shirts are always quite smart with the sash. I think there's a couple of things holding it from being Volcano tier, and again. I think it's things like the Kappa logos. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan, and the neckline, although it's fresh and it's interesting, I'm not sure it's my favourite look. I think it could be better, but I'm really weighing this one up because it is good, and D said I don't know what it is about the Kappa logo, but it just hits differently. It does indeed. It does indeed. I think, honestly, the more I look at it, I think it's going to go in the high flames. And this is a tough one because I really am considering it for the Volcano tier. It's very, very much up for consideration. Sash shirts, of course, very popular, and rightly so. And the great thing about Vasco, because you've got the monochrome or the black and white base with the red details, it's such a good colourway. So I'm happy to put this one quite high up in the Flames tier, but not quite Volcano tier. I think though, as we go through, and we'll kind of obviously, whilst I don't want to retroactively change the rankings too much, there is precedent for that. So as we just resize this one slightly, as we get this one in position, I'm going to stick it pretty high up there. I think, I would take the Boca shirt over this one, for example, but it is good. Very happy for it to sit quite highly in the Flames tier, in the hot tier. It is good. I mean, the fact it goes on the back as well is excellent. They of course, have one of the better crests in football too. Lots to like about this one. There really is. There really is. I hope I'm sounding too down on this because it is one of the better shirts we've seen this year. Don't get me wrong. Just a few things which I think it... For whatever reason, those Kappa logos just are bugging me a little bit. I think just the fact they're in silver, it feels like an unnecessary colour. If they're in black, I think all in black. I mean, they're on the side, which is not. It's obviously, for whatever reason, it's the choice they've gone with. John Carr said the contrast between the white and the sash is too sharp that a lighter black or dark grey would have been better. That would be very interesting to see, John Carr. I like the definition of it, but I would like to see that as well. That's very interesting. Very interesting shout, my friend. Right, we continue. We're catching up. 4 pages till we're on the latest releases. We could definitely do at least a couple of pages. And we're moving to Canada very soon. we come to the Real Madrid collaboration shirt. This one, of course, was worn against Barcelona in an unfortunate defeat in the Clásico. But this is Real Madrid returning to collaborate with Y3. And that is the brand, kind of a subsidiary of Adidas, or a sub-brand of Adidas. And the Japanese designer, whose name escapes me, is it Yamamoto? I think, I can't remember his name. Yoji, is it? Or I can't remember. But anyway, the guy the fashion designer who runs and owns Y3. This one, quite expensive as well, the shirt. I believe it was retailing, was it £150 or around that? So quite high and limited in number. And it came in a very big box. In isolation, you know, if it was the same price as a normal shirt and those kind of things, which are big ifs, because it wasn't, but if it was, there's a lot to like, particularly the fact that the pattern goes all the way around the back, and that's very good. And it's a very subtle pattern. It's the kind of pattern which won't appeal to everyone, and it certainly doesn't stand out. Many people just have it's just a black shirt, but I think I'm a fan of these kind of patterns. Neckline and cuffs, kind of very safe, and indeed the colourway it's very much. Of course, Real have had many black kits over the years, but it brings back memories of the first collaboration with Y3, which had a much more intricate and much more visually impactful dragon design, which many of you will remember. That shirt is very hard to find now. It was certainly one of the more collectible shirts of the early 10s when it came out. So this one, it's not as exciting as that, but I do think the pattern is strong. Some details, like I don't love the look of this patch. It's nice and large, but yeah, and I think it just feels, it's one of those shirts where it's definitely leaning more. You see with collaboration shirts, some of them are more leaning towards the identity of the brand coming into football, and you can see that because if you look at any of the Y3 stuff, it tends to be black. You know, that's just the go-to color. Very, very simple monochrome palettes. I do like the pattern, but honestly, I think I'm going to stick it in the camel tier. Yes, there are some nice elements, but when you've got a special collaboration shirt, I think you have to judge the context of a shirt like this. Were this an away shirt, I think I'd actually like it better, but given how kind of, you know, limited edition and special the shirt is, I think it needs to find another gear. And John Carl's saying bog standard black template from a distance. Yes, it is from a distance, indeed. I do think it's better than that. And obviously, when you have to get up close, but when you see it up close, it does have some potential. But I mean, it's little things like, yeah. No, I think it's good to see it. Obviously, you've got the Adidas Heat Ready. Yeah, I don't know. I think the pattern, the aesthetic, it's solid but unspectacular. Ross saying, I feel like the fact a lot of English teams multi-continental Nike and Adidas create uniformity in the English leagues. Love the fact Shrewsbury use Admiral as their manufacturer. Yeah, I think that's one thing you see. Lower league teams, they sometimes pick these bigger manufacturers, but it leads to more bland kits, that's for sure. Rover saying, I feel like the result of that basket game hurt sales a bit. Yeah, I think it's very unfortunate. You know, that often happens when you've got a shirt like this, and one bad result in it can really taint the reputation. That's all it takes sometimes. But yeah, looking at that, yeah, no, I'm happy leaving it there. It's a real shame because I think, again, I don't think it needed to go down the dragon route, which was obviously very strong from the previous kit, or certainly memorable. But this one, it does get lost. I think that, yeah, it feels very uninspired, despite being a special shirt. The pink goalkeeper shirt, it's certainly kind of vibes of the elite Arsenal shirt, which I've got a short video of. If you check the channel, I've done a couple of 30-second videos on the Arsenal leagues, which you can check out there, guys. Feels like an Inter Miami kit, doesn't it? With the colourway. This is the goalkeeper shirt. We've tended to avoid the goalkeeper shirts though, actually. So just thinking about it, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I believe I've been avoiding the goalkeeper shirts. I'm going to say we have. I'm going to leave that out. I'm trying to remember, or did we say we would rank every shirt that we come across on full shirt culture? Honestly, I'm struggling to remember. I'm going to rank this one, but if we come through and I realise, or later on, that I have been avoiding goalkeeper shirts, but my mind is completely blanked as to what our policy has been. We can always change it later on. For now, I think this one, it's. I probably prefer the black one. Like that's where I'm thinking for this one. So I think we're back in the cannons here. Even though again the pattern is bespoke, I just don't. I mean, the one thing which I do like. So if we just go back here. Even though I'm not usually one for kind of gradients, I don't know if it's just the press shots, but it almost feels like there is a bit of a gradient here from dark to light. And actually, you know what? No, you know what? I think I'm happy to put this just in the flames tier. I think again it's relatively low on this end of the tier of the flames tier, but there's something looking at it again. And I don't think I noticed this at first, but you see that they have the top section here. The base again looks slightly darker than the lighter bit here, and I actually think that's a nice subtle gradient. It's not overly forced. It's not so which I noticed at first, and maybe it's just the lighting more than the shirt itself. But I think it is. You can see the same here. So honestly, the more I look at it, the more I actually like it. Yeah, it's a bit random that it's pink, and it feels like it's more of a kind of fashionable choice than anything else. But there's something about that. I'm happy to say that's a hot shirt. Not super hot, but hot. Now we come to the Canadian Premier League. CPL, a relatively new league, and Macron have a league-wide deal with the CPL. So much like Adidas and MLS, Macron and the CPL have a deal going on. Looking at this one here, if you look at, immediately it feels very Canadian with the colours, with the predominantly red and the little bits of white, and the sash is quite nice. It's a nice take on the sash, having it kind of more tonal with the white outline, and the sponsor, it's fine. The incorporation is okay. It does break up the sash, which is a shame, but at the same time, the gap isn't too huge, unlike something like the Charleston battery shirts, which if we look at those quickly, I really didn't like how big the gap was around the Volvo sponsor there. So it's a little bit tighter, and that's good. Really, this one, it kind of goes into how much do you like a sash? Obviously, it's nice to see the little bit of green. That's nice. Feels a bit like the kind of whale shirts that we've been talking about. I think this one is, honestly, it's close. It's close to the hot tier. Now the pattern, John Carl mentioned as well, the pattern in the sash is interesting. I think it is. I don't think it necessarily adds loads. I'd almost want to see it without that, to be honest. Just because it feels, the kind of geometric thing, it feels a little bit generic. I think looking at this, I'm going to put this in the high end of the candle tier. There's the flickering of a really, really good shirt. I think it needs, maybe it's more in the details, but yeah, I'd like to see a different pattern in the sash, or maybe even no pattern at all, honestly, despite how it would be relatively plain, but I don't think it adds too much. Or maybe the pattern could be more kind of obviously referencing maple leaves or something like that, maybe. So it's very solid. I think we'll see better in the league, though. I think there will be better Canadian kits. Almost an anti-sash. Yeah, it is a bit, isn't it? Yeah. Just quickly on the rail Y3 kits. So Ross asking, because it's Y3, will it be more expensive? Yeah, basically, they're limited in number, and the collaboration nature of it, it made it a lot more expensive. Now, this pattern is a lot better Pacific FC have a very vibrant colourway. The thing that's hurting this one is that collar. I really don't like that collar. And it's such a shame because I think with a better collar, even if it's as simple as that, I don't love that collar and it looks a bit, a bit too big there. But without the collar, this is just a straight fire shirt. Higher end of the fire shirt. I really like this pattern with the leaves. The way it's been, it kind of gives it almost like an undulating look because of the colours. It's really, really nice. And it's obviously a very memorable colour scheme. The purple and the turquoise, very bright, very bright, very vibrant, I should say. Not vite, that's not a word. But I'm struggling with that collar. I think, though, there's enough. Despite that, is it just me? I really don't like this look. That looks naff to me. Also, I like the VW sponsor, which of course they've used, and it's been used on a number of kits. But especially the new version of the VW sponsor, which is nice and flat. I like it. So this one is going to go in the fire tier. That's despite how little I like that collar, and that says how much I like the rest of the shirt. And I don't think this is just sneaking into the flames tier either. I think this is a really good. It's that pattern, guys. It's the way that pattern's been achieved. I think it's a bit of a sleeper kit. I think this one, I will be doing a video on this in the coming weeks, talking about how much I like this one. And that's despite the collar, which is one of my least favourite collars you've seen today. But I'm very happy to put this one, alongside some of the best MLS kits. Ross did Wolfsburg, not sport something similar to the Pacific FC shirt. They certainly have the same sponsor. But yeah, there's been a few teams, Ross, that have had this. Brock's and interesting, which is your favourite CPL shirt? I've got Forge FC's 2019 and York 2019 away. It's doing the Pacific FC with that colour combo. Honestly, Brock, I'd get on this one. I think this is really good. And am I right to say they won? Did they win? I can't remember if they won or maybe I'm thinking of another team. I can't remember who won now. But yeah, they've got the gold. I think that denotes that they've won it before. The gold star or gold maple leaf. But yeah, in short, this is really good. Again, it's that pattern. It's the style of it and the execution of it. I sometimes hate on gradients, but this is so much more interesting than just a gradient. And that's what I like. It's got that kind of wave about it and the way they've used the leaves and the branches in there to achieve it. I think it's excellent. It's really good. It's just that colour. Honestly, with a better collar, I think this could be a Volcano tier. A better collar and pattern on the back, I think we'd be looking at a Volcano tier. Certainly a higher than this. Chris in same colour as your Fiorentina. This one is a bit kind of bluer, I think, the purple. I mean, maybe that's just because of the other details around it, but I think there's certainly a kind of Fiorentina colour in there, in that palette. But yeah, I really, really like this one there. Thomas, I'm making a comeback. Good stuff, my friend. Any standouts since I left? What have we had since you left? I don't know. Did we talk about Indy, that their home kit is there? We talked about Las Vegas, which with the better sponsor would be there. And Vasco. So we've had a few Flames tier. Sorry, kits, Thomas. Yeah, two good ones there. Brock says, yes, they won the gold maple leaf one last year. Thank you, Brock. Thank you. So yeah, in short, I think this is going to be the best CPL shirt. We will see. FC Edmonton. The first thing this makes you think of is the conversation we had about Scotland, where the purple in that Scotland shirt was doing so much. And the pink here gives this a really interesting edge. Not only the pink, but there's like a kind of, almost like a beige or like a browny beige colour as well. Without that, this one feels a little bit lost. I think it still needs something about it. The pink is good. I like that addition. Just, again, to help separate this from a crowd. But other than that, this, it's fine, the kind of horizontal shadow stripes. It's not bad, and actually I like that it looks to be, if we try and get a closer look, I think that, so what's really good about that is it's not just a print, but it has been achieved through the material, and that's good. That is a real plus. So this is actually, to be honest, knowing that, I thought that that might have just been a print at first, which I would rank lower in my estimations if it was. But yeah, I'm gonna put this one. Well, let's grab it and see. My hunch is it might just about sneak into the Flames tier, but I think we'll probably keep it in the higher end of the Cannel tier. You know, certainly compared to some other Pacific FC shirt, it's not nearly as strong in my eyes, but it is, again, the pattern, that subtle horizontal pattern is actually part of the material, is a real plus. And it is on the back as well, which is good. So that is really good. And the pink, you know what? I think this is actually going to go in the Flames tier, and it's largely because of things like, again, the way the pattern's been achieved through construction and not just a sublimation or something like that, and a bit like the conversation we had with Scotland, where the purple really, oh gosh, that's way too big, but the purple really helped. I think this is a similar kind of story. Sponsor is fine. Nothing particularly about it. It's kind of a fun logo, so I don't mind that. It's not a negative in my eyes. Reminds me of a Carlo Cabrini shirt. Yeah, that's a good shirt, Russ. I can see that too. And Thomas before saying the Vasco looks nice. Love a sash. Yeah, if you like a sash, it doesn't get much better than that. Valor FC. Just taking this one in. It's another. Macron have a habit of doing this, where their collars can. It's like they've spent a bit too much time tinkering, and it's like 3 different collars rolled into one. I don't like that. You know, what are these black bits doing here? I mean, just as a side point, the stitching looks pretty naff on these photos, but that's, you know, we're not here to judge that particularly. But yeah, not a big fan of that. I'm not really sure about this kind of this design as well. I mean, the kind of what would you call it? Diagonal half and half, I guess. I think it feels like that's almost a bit too high. I mean, I get it. You've managed to tuck in the sponsor there, but it feels very close to that collar. Just this whole area of the shirt, I'm not a big fan of. The colours are pretty classy. You know, I get the kind of maroon, black and gold. If it was just black and gold, it would feel a bit more standard. But the neckline and elements like that, and you know what I think it is, and it's a silly thing to be bothered by, but the angle of that, because you've got so many kind of lines here. You see the line of the V there. I think I'd want to see that same angle, honestly. Yeah, that's how I'd take it. It needs a brighter red, said Thomas. Yeah, I think that would be interesting to see. Although, to be fair, I don't know if they've recolored the crest, but it seems to be matching the crest, which, yeah. But I agree that it does feel a little bit tired. John Gus said, interesting take on a half and half, more of a third. It's 2/3. Yeah, indeed. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh. It has this kind of like, almost like the shoulder, isn't it? But no, I think I'm going to put this one in the Cannel tier. I think some of the other like genuinely, and this again I think will be controversial, but I rate the Edmonton shirt above this one. And on Edmonton, D said very generous that. Yeah, D, I think many people would agree with you. I think I'm kind of going out on a limb. And a lot of these rankings that I'm doing, I'm basing them on kind of, you know, my first impressions of a kit and my hunch on a kit. So, you know, we've got kits certainly in this kind of lower Flames tier, which, and to be honest, I think maybe if it comes to a quieter week and we manage to catch up on the new releases, we can do a bit more of a review and move a few of the current kits around. I think we'll probably do that, because the more kits we get, you know, we're just about to enter April. This is going to get very, very, it's already congested. It's going to get very, very congested. Tom was saying, although the colours look very different in the photo of the shirt and the marketing graphics, they do, which is a classic problem. That shade and the colours look better here, which is often the case. They look a bit more tired on the retail pictures. Ross saying more of a rugby shirt. Yeah, I can see that as well, Ross, and that's a good shout. Decent. The longer we're here, the softer you're getting. The kits I'm doing a lot here. I like it, D. I mean, to be fair, to the home straight. I try to be as objective as possible, but I'm pretty tired. I hear you there. Coming to Forge FC. This one has a lot of things I like about it. Forge FC have had some of the more interesting kits. CPR hasn't been going on long, but they have had some good kits over the years. This pattern, it's not the best pattern you'll see, but it does feel like it's got, compared to something like the Ireland kit. We looked at the Republic of Ireland shirt, which feels like a pattern we've seen before. This isn't drastically different, but it does, in my mind, stand out compared to that. I think it has its own character. It's not the most, again, I don't think it's as exciting as something like the contours of the Las Vegas Lights kit. But where this one succeeds better is it's got a better sponsor. Buffering. Again, apologies. Let's just check. Can you hear me? If you can't, sorry guys, I think I lost you for a good few seconds there. I'm just trying to see. Okay, so that's that there. Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, some internet problems. I do apologise. Again, do let me know if we're back. It doesn't look too good on my end, I must say. Again, I'm only working off what I can see on my second screen, but it does appear to be buffering quite heavily. Apologies. I think there's been some significant issues on the internet side. Do let me know if it's any better or if it's just as bad. I mean, if it's really bad, you won't be able to hear me saying this, but apologies nonetheless. It seemed to have been relatively stable today until just now. But we did have some issues last time on the eBay trading. Let me know, guys. Either way, good or bad. Apologies nonetheless. We do need to catch up as well to live time, so I'll just do that quickly on my second screen. Having some problems on that as well. Okay. As I say, do let me know either way if it's good or bad. Coming to this kit though, things that I really like about this, I like, looking at the colours here with the orange and the maroon and the blue, it's good. I like that as a colour combo. Good to see a no-nonsense collar, and I much prefer that. If we had, imagine that colour, that style of colour on the Pacific shirt, I think it's much, much better. But this is good, and I think this is an example. We talked about orange before. Was it Orange County? Orange can go either way, it really can. If it lands well, it can be excellent. Looking at Cincinnati kit, for example, was excellent. I think this one is a hot kit. I think the pattern, again, it's not too they could have gone down the kind of generic camo route, but there's enough there. There's enough character there. I don't even know if there's a story behind it, but I like the overall aesthetic. You're back, says John Carl. Decent sound is back, but cut out, but seems to work now. Yeah, apologies guys. I think we are, so looking here, am I good? Let's just move that. Again, I do apologise for the problems we've been having. Again, struggling a little bit to get my stream in the right place on here. Let's just try that. I think we're close on there. I'm a little bit behind, but hopefully we're more caught up than we were. Yeah, so this one, I think it's in the hot tier, and I think it compares favourably to some of the other MLS and CPL kits we've seen. I'm not as big on it as Pacific. I think Pacific FC's pattern was just a little bit more. I think it's a bit more. Well, it stood out a bit more than this one, but I think the colours really do stand out, and it is things like the maroon as a secondary colour. It's good. I like that. Thanks, guys, for saying it's back. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty big hiccup. I think that's the first one we've had, or certainly the first major one we've had today. So hopefully we'll be plain sailing into the home stretch. We'll be here for another 15 minutes or so. Yeah. So in short, I think this is one of the better CPL kits, and I think we've seen a couple of good ones today. We really have, and different flavours. Edmonton much more simple, but I do like the way that pattern was achieved. And certainly the Pacific and the Forge ones, I think you're not going to get many better kits from the league, if at all. John Carl says Forge is weird, but I like it. It is pretty weird. Now here we go. York United. I'm not a big fan of this straight out of the gate. These kind of cityscape graphics, they're a bit like map graphics for me. Well, they often just feel a little bit, I don't know, a bit too obvious. It's interesting to see it within those bands, but honestly, I'd like to see that without. I think it would look better without that. And the gold, or the kind of, his gold framing and the pinstripes. Honestly, I think without that cityscape, I would say this has a potential for the hot tier. And again, it's good. Like the Forge kit, we've got what I'd call a no-nonsense collar compared to some of the other ones, which are just way too busy. But I think that cityscape just feels very cheesy, and I'm just not a big fan of that. I think compared to, I think it would just look cleaner, much better without. I do prefer it to the Valor FC shirt though, and that was in the middle candle tier, so I think this one could go slightly above that, but not by much. The colours are interesting in this one. I'm assuming it's a home kit. It has the feel of an away kit. I guess I'm so used to North American kits, North American teams, so having white away kits. But yeah, this one, I think you can look at some of these shirts here. Some of the Tokyo Verdy shirt there. It reminds you of that. The colours. It feels like it's got. Again, I think this is that cityscape, guys. It doesn't do it for me. It tells a story, but I don't think it adds to what is otherwise quite a classy kind of vibe and aesthetic. Just feels very cheesy and very forced. Atletico Ottawa. Now this shirt, of course, the team, part of Atletico Madrid's group of teams. It's first thing is just laughing at that sponsor. Come on, that's funny. Looking at this shirt here, big old maple leaf at the back. Not a big fan. I prefer the collars we've seen on the previous two shirts. That one's fine. It's not as bad as the Pacific one, but the kind of slight drop V. Not a big fan of that style. Although we have seen it on a number of teams. And the pattern within the stripes, again, the pattern doesn't look great to me. If that was part of the kind of the fabric of the shirt, dare I say it, like the Edmonton shirt, or indeed some of the player issue shirts that we're seeing from teams now, I think that could look a lot better. But as is, I'm struggling to get too excited by that one. So yeah, I think this one is probably in the lower candle tier. Yes, the red and white stripes, pretty good. Like in general, as a theme, many Atletico Madrid kits have been good over the years. But I'm not. The pattern isn't doing it for me. It feels like, and obviously it's difficult to innovate. Striped teams are some of the hardest teams to design for because they tend to look even more, or they can look much more samey compared to. I'm having no problems with the image there. Compared to other teams who have got a bit more to play with. It's often harder with striped teams, but I think this is actually an example of a below average striped kit. On the York kit, Cascadia colours, that's a good shout indeed, John Carr. I hadn't thought of it that way. But too sparse a design. Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a fair assessment. Ice Cube Candle, yeah. And this one I think I'm honestly considering the Ice Cube tier. I think I'll sneak it in to the candle tier, and that's more because of the base of a red and white striped shirt is just a bit stronger than some of these other looks, you know, compared to, what's that, Estudiantes. I see it. You know what? No, I'm going to put it in the Ice Cube tier because I look at that, and again, that's another red and white stripes, but I prefer that one. It just looks a bit better. The neckline's slightly better, and the fact they've not got that unnecessary pattern. So I think this one is going to go. It's like Commerce and New England. Tell you what, doing this list, guys, it's challenging my memory of team names and things like that. We'll stick that there. Let's go to could do much better. Now, Halifax Wanderers. I believe that's what HFX stands for. This one, this has, well, you know what? Looking at this, and I talked about the Edmonton kit, how I liked that the pattern itself was part of the fabric of the shirt. This one, similarly, is a kind of embossed look. That is excellent. Now, the same sponsor as Pacific FC, but I really, really like the way that pattern's been achieved. And I also like the style of it, how it swerves in and looks really good. So my first impression is excellent. And it's great to see. I'd get bored of it if I saw it every time, but this collar compared to something like the Pacific FC collar, having the same problems with the image, so we're just going to do this method. Apologies. But this, yeah, you know what? I thought Pacific FC was going to be the peak of our CPL kits. This one is challenging it. Thomas saying not much of a Macron fan, so this is an odd patch for me. I hear you. I'm not as big a Macron as other people, but having said that, I do think this is a good year for CPL kits. So I kind of take that back. I think maybe I'm a closet Macron fan. I think this is good, guys. You know what? I think I actually like this more than the Pacific kit. And it's partly because of the collar and stuff like that, but I really, really like that pattern. Not only its look, but how it's been achieved. And by that, I mean, if that was just a sublimation, I don't think I'd rate this one as highly. Seeing it not on the back is a bit of a shame. That is a shame. It's hard to rank it next to this Pacific one. I think you can flip a coin as to which I prefer. So I think on that basis, I will literally, let's just rank it like, directly below it or above it. Let's do that. Let's stick it here. I do think it's really good. Obviously the same sponsor, so there's a lot of similarities, ways we could compare this. But it's that pattern. I really like that. This is a great example of subliminal pattern for me. This is the kind of thing I like to see. Where without that, it would be a bit plain. With that, it adds quite a lot. And just the shape and the construction of it, pretty high on. So, there we go. There's a few CPL kits. There's at least four that are in the Flames tier. I really like them as a collective, and I do think whether you're a Macron fan or not, some of their best work is in Canada. Now I think we're on to page 3. I think we'll probably leave it there. Obviously, we've still got a few pages to catch up on, and you can see some of the shirts coming up that we are going to rank, including the Denmark shirt. But yeah, I think we'll end it there. Guys, let's have a bit of a recap. Before we do, on the Halifax shirt, John Carson, I like the shape of the badge. Yeah, I do too. I really like that. In an era of so many similar homogenous crests, I think that one does look good. And I just said I'm hoping to make a trip to Halifax in July to catch a Wanderers game. Nice, good stuff. I'd certainly say if you can get this shirt for a good price, it'd be worth picking up. Thank you so much for sticking with me, guys. It's been a 3-hour stream. It's been a long stream. We've got there. We've ranked a lot of shirts, and it has been a good day for the list. Not least because two more shirts made it into the top tier. It's a tricky tier to get into. But San Diego and New Mexico United both got in there. Deservedly so, I would say. Well, I would say because that's where I ranked them, but really liked them. And it wasn't just them. We had excellent showings from Canada. A couple of CPL shirts getting in there. Brazil as well, Cruzeiro, Vasco. So some really, like, you know, generally speaking, I mean, obviously we ranked so many shirts that there were going to be a few in the higher tiers. But it was a good day. Of course, we had some ISQs, we had some candles, but I'm liking the way this list is panning out. And a bit of a preview for next week. Thomas saying, Denmark easy Volcano. You might be right, Thomas. You'll have to wait and see next week. But there we go. That's the latest image snapshot of the hot wall. I like it. I like how it's shaping up. It's getting busy. It's certainly, certainly kind of beginning to get crowded. And that's what happens when I'm so strict with the higher tiers. D saying, felt like the Volcano said to be bigger. yeah, we might have to. Well, I like it. But they do get a bit lost, don't they? Do enjoyed that. Thank you, D. It's been great to have your company. I really appreciated your chat throughout the stream, and indeed everyone. You know, from the new faces to the regulars here. Don't forget, of course, as we begin to wrap up. Sent you back to the intro screen. Don't forget, if you're new here, to subscribe to the channel. It helps grow Phil's Corner, and it's going to be a big year. We're going to be doing loads more content. Once we're back in the studio, we're not in these surroundings. We will be we'll be kind of hitting all gears. What's the phrase I'm thinking of? All systems go, something like that. We'll be doing that with a combination of longer form content, regular streams like we're doing now, and short content as well. So there's all that. It's all happening this year. If you're a subscriber, you'll find out first. And if you want to support me at a deeper level, there's also my Patreon. And I'll quickly show you guys a new screen which I've got here. Firing on all cylinders. Yeah, thank you, Thomas. Exactly. Guys, this is just a thank you to my current patrons. Of course, just by watching the videos, you're supporting the channel, and thank you to you for doing that. If you want to support me further and get some perks and stuff, and there's a Slack group where I'm in, chatting daily. If you want to have my ear, so to speak, and I reply on there much more than I do on Twitter DMs and stuff like that. There's the Patreon. That's an option as well. Thank you to everyone there. But thank you, guys. Thank you, Brock. Thomas, I think you're right, mate. It's that kind of that was the kind of thing in my head. But yeah, as I say, thank you so much for hanging out with me this afternoon. If you are joining late or joined in the last hour, you've got 2 hours previous to catch up on of some good old hot wall action. But thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Thomas. And I'll see you next week, and indeed everyone else. It's been a good time. I'll leave with the outro screen. Have a good rest of your week and a weekend. If I don't speak to you on Twitter, I'll see you next week on the streams. I'll post at the start of the week of the schedule. It does change week to week sometimes. We might do another 3-hour stream on Thursday. I'll see how we go. And the eBay streams at the moment are a bit sporadic because I'm spending time doing other stuff. But I'll let you know on Monday. And thank you so much, guys. Have a good rest of your week. Take care.